Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Apex Season 4. I'm Atlas, this is Wolf. We have one more day of the round of 16 to decide who is going through out of Group A. It will actually be exciting, and I'm so glad that the last match actually means something, Wolf.
Yeah, it really does. It will determine who is getting out of this group. MVP Space will advance if Meta Athena is able to knock Lunatic-Hai out. So for Meta Athena, sure, it doesn't really matter for them in any really stretch of the word, but it does matter for all three teams because not only will it determine placement for MVP Space, but it will also determine whether Runaway gets first or second. So if Lunatic-Hai is able to win, Runaway will take second place in the group. Lunatic-Hai will then pass them in first. If Meta Athena wins the match, though, that means MVP Space will take second, and because of the head-to-head, we'll put Runaway in first place for the group, so they'll get to take part in our group selection, which will be right after the broadcast. So you guys will get that translated and get to enjoy that experience as well.
Yeah, see who's going to pick who. Of course, some interesting decisions being made for all of our teams actually trying to decide who their preferences are as far as who they want to be going up against. Will be interesting to find out where everyone's mind's at, whether people are scared of Combox once again or whether they're going to opt in for it this time around because they don't necessarily look as strong. There are a lot of question marks here for where our teams are stacking up, especially when you've got 4 groups, you know, and multiple teams going through from each group as well. So speaking of which, let's have a look at it right now. +2 across the board for Group A, and this is why things are a little bit hectic. The reason why Runaway goes in at number first is because MVP Space lost the head-to-head between those two teams, despite exactly the same match and plus score.
That's right.
Lunatic-Hai looking to make their way through to that first place if they can win here.
So Lunatic-Hai, with any score advancing, will take first place because if they win with any score, they will get at least +1, even if they won with a 3-2. That will put them at a +3, which will put them above Runaway. That would knock Runaway to second place. All the other groups are completely finished. Group D was supposed to finish with Luxury Watch Blue's final match today, but because they dropped out, we only have one best of 5, so this is going to be all about Meta Athena. Can they change the sphere? We put the assumption on the table, as I said last week, that Lunatic-Hai would win this matchup, so it was essentially last Tuesday, MVP Space knocked out of the group. It's not necessarily the case, but can Meta Athena break the assumption that we had here, the expectations coming in? They have not won a single map, not even a single map in this group. They are 0-6. So for them to take this would be a pretty incredible feat.
Yeah, someone has to be the Flashlocks, though, and I believe Flashlocks finally picked up a map.
They did.
A few days ago, so Meta Athena now looking to be the 0-9 team heading out of a round of 16, or can they change their stars completely? I mean, playing spoiler has never been epitomized by a moment other like more than this one. This is actually not for you anymore. This is for pride for the Meta organization. Bellum also not exactly having the greatest time in a group with only 3 teams, as you mentioned before. But Meta Athena, man, it's really, really hard to stay motivated in a game like this, most definitely. But if they can do it, I mean, it shows good things for the future and potentially for Season 5.
Yeah, I think, you know, there's also, too, the extra prize money that's on the line for the fight money, which is why that exists. Sure, it helps the players and the organizations, but it also gives incentive to win a match like this, despite already being knocked out of the group. So it is going to be, I think, a really exciting match. Maybe Meta Athena does some experimentation. Maybe they show us a new meta. No pun intended. That's going to happen a lot tonight, guys. I'm sorry. They'll show us something new tonight or go back to the style they did so well in Season 2 with making it to that semifinals.
Yeah, we'll see whether they're going to be utilizing things like that, Reinhardt, as well, that we ask questions about all the time. Not necessarily something that they have been demonstrating with Rio on the roster. You mentioned it last time, you know, Chungshik being more that capable Reinhardt player rather than, you know, Rio, who does want to be playing the Winston almost every single time. But the roster is not going to change. Don't have many subs, but there are certainly question marks around who's going to be fielded on the side of Lunatic-Hai.
Hey,
Runner, how you doing?
Of,
and Stitch.
Runaway, Runner, and Stitch are here. So Stitch, very likely to be the representative for group selection.
Also just coming off one of the best games of Overwatch I have ever seen a man play as well. That dude was unbelievable. Go back and watch the VOD if you didn't see that that match. Runaway, just outstanding performance.
A fantastic Stitch on the Tracer as usual. So
we were going to be depressed by MVP Space getting knocked out of the group after doing so well to start things off. But if Runaway are going to continue to play like that, no longer going to be depressed. And this is, once again, I know I'm making that assumption again. I'm assuming that Lunatic-Hai is going to be able to win here, but we still haven't figured it out. We still haven't figured out whether Meta Athena's worked out how Overwatch works for this particular season as well, and this particular patch. Because if they get through this, they've got a new patch to play on when we move into round of 8.
That's right.
Round of 16, a different experience, and they haven't necessarily got their heads around the old Doomfist compositions just yet.
No, certainly not, and they haven't been able to either replicate the composition that you would think they would be so good at that we saw in the World Cup from the Seoul national team or the Korean national team that played overseas, of course, and dominated without dropping a single map. That Reinhardt Zarya phalanx, as we like to call it, even with the Junkrat, we haven't really seen them even try that yet. They haven't wrapped their heads around that, which is working in the World Cup in their own meta, but here, you would think they'd be using it. You'd be thinking we'd see some of those Hanzo pushes on King's Row, but they have not. So we're going to take a look at this video for these two teams. Check it out.
잘하는 조합에 대해서 컨셉을 제대로 못 잡은 느낌. 이렇게 되면 세트 스코어를 한 번도 따내지 못했죠.
적들은 이제 디바나 윈스턴을 오히려 포커싱하면서 게임을 했기 때문에 딜러들도 자리를 못 잡아서 게임이 잘 풀려나가지 않았고 그런 자리 싸움에서 졌다고 생각합니다. 그래요.
이태준 선수가 오랜만에 온 느낌이 없어요. 네. 실력 발휘를 했다는 그런 생각이 들고요. 솔직하게 얘기해서 완벽했어요.
MVP 전에서는 제가 제일 큰 문제가 있었다고 생각해요. 욕 많이 먹었어요. 근데 이제 감독님이나 코치님이 선수들까지 포함해서 저를 끝까지 믿어줘서 런어웨이 전에서도 좋은 활약한 것 같습니다.
루나틱하이는 정말 강팀이죠. 팀원들 간의 호흡도 좋고 앞라인에 힘을 많이 실어서 정면을 부시는 타입이거든요. 이번 8강은 어려워졌지만 저희들도 그에 못지않은 조합으로 정면 싸움을 한번 가볼 생각입니다.
시즌 2 때는 메타 아테나만의 이제 색깔이 있었어요. 근데 지금은 뭐 팀 합이 너무 안 맞아요. 런어웨이의 하위 호환 버전? 힐러도 그냥 고냥고냥하고 그냥 탱커도 다른 팀에 비해 되게 차이가 심해요. 무슨 색깔이 있겠습니까? 유니폼 색깔은 바뀌었네요.
루나틱하이에는 저보다 빅트 스캔을 잘 쏘는 분도 없고 저희 딜러진 어데네나도 풀리지 않거든요. 기계로도 용포군 물론 실력은 더 상위라고 생각합니다. 딜러 차이에서 좀 더 압살하도록 하겠습니다.
거의 뭐 업고 간다는 이제 그런 평을 많이 받고 있는데 그냥 거기 팀에 어울리는 딜러예요. 제가 볼 때는. 제가 많이 생각을 해봤는데요. 주의할 점이 없네요. 관전 포인트는 제 얼굴?
같이 떨어져 봅시다. 매번 8강 가셨잖아요. 이번에 신선한 맛으로 이제 16강 탈락도 한번 경험해 보시게 신발 양말 다 끄잡아 내리도록 하겠습니다.
마이너스 9점으로 이제 집에 가게 생기셨네요. 여 사야 사요나라.
Overwatch Apex Season 4, energized by Hot 6, Round Robin. Today's matchup, Meta Athena, Lunatic-Hai.
Well, that was an incredibly confident Lunatic-Hai. Lee Tae-jun, I think, was... I mean, I wanted to just yell and say, like, stop it, he's already dead. Because, you know, they're already out. They don't have a chance of getting towards that round of 8 just yet on the side of Meta Athena. But at least Slayer player was still able to have a conversation and sounded like he was ready to try and prove himself as the DPS squadron on the desk.
I didn't think he could do any further, and then he said the key point would be his good looks, and I didn't think he could do any further, and then he said sayonara with Saya player as a pun. I couldn't really, I was like, is he going to go deeper than this? He couldn't Can go deeper than that, but
He
I
did,
mean,
Wolf. He did.
there was a sheer understanding, I think, for Meta Athena about their problems going into this group. Understanding that they are a DPS carry team. Saya player, definitely the most famous player. Libero's hero pool, deeper than most. But this is going to be a tough match, to say the least.
Oh, yeah.
And Taejun, of course, also recognizing that it was his shortcomings that hurt them in the series against MVP Space. So,
And I think that was important for him to recognize as well, because we were talking about it on the desk when that game was going on and seemed a little bit disconnected from the rest of the team.
yeah. So this team, remember, they are 0-6. They may end the group 0-9. Certainly the weakest team in this group of death. People were saying they were going to be one of the reasons why it was the group of death. But even though they're the weakest team, they now hold the most power in the group because they will determine all final standings based on their performance tonight. So
Yeah.
if they have a breakout, that's what MVP is hoping for. That's what Runaway is hoping for. They'll take that first seed. All they have to do is win the series. Scores don't matter. It's not like our last week where it's they have to get a 3-2 at least, you know, or they have to get a 3-1.
No, it's just win or lose.
Win or lose, man. Just one best of 5 to end the round of 16. Very fitting, it feels.
Yeah. But let's have a look over the side of Lunatic-Hai after this, because some changes have definitely been made. Only 6 players here, like we mentioned, for Meta Athena, so not going to see any change-ups. We'll have our eyes on Libero and Saya player as far as that DPS frontline or
Yeah.
backline or wherever they're going to be, because they can play very aggressively, especially on things like the Tracer and the Doomfist. So we'll see where they're going to be playing. It is very, very dangerous for Meta Athena right now up against a steamroller like Lunatic-Hai.
We will reveal the roster that will be
Yeah,
starting tonight.
I'm getting too excited.
Yeah,
You know?
we will reveal that in just a moment. Looks like everyone is very focused, ready to go here. On the side of Meta Athena, Chris gives the nod. So they probably had the map just revealed to them. We'll find out what that is ourselves in just a moment. But now it's time, Atlas.
Yeah.
I know you're excited about it.
Very excited.
I want you to say it. Who's playing today?
Well, we don't have Jaehong in the booth.
No, we
at
do
all.
not.
No Jaehong in the booth. And Lee Taejun, he was telling some smack. Certainly was, but he's not going to be there either. We're going to have Guido and Who Are You in the roster with Esker as well. So 3 theoretical DPS players. And then, of course, Toby, Zumba, and Miro.
Eska in the captain's chair as well. It's not
Is
going
he
to be...
going to be playing Lucio? Because everyone's been playing Lucio recently. It doesn't even matter. Like, Huxal had some great performances, you know, and he was a DPS player. Like, maybe that means it's going to be Who Are You? Maybe he's been secretly just playing Lucio.
I think that this is just, again, showing the depth of this roster, the fact that they could win without Eska. Now they're trying to prove they can win without Jaehong. And Guido is actually a great Ana player. You have to imagine Guido will be flexing into that support role tonight. He's actually very famous. A lot of you have probably seen this video. He's famous for, on stream, 1v1ing Jaehong in an Ana versus Ana on Lijiang Tower. In like a best of 7, they played against each other, and Taejun was commentating, and Guido destroyed Jaehong in that. And it was very famous. We were like, wow, I didn't know Guido could play Ana. I didn't know he could play support. He can. He has shown it before, he has streamed it, and now...
And he debuted as definite flex when he first hopped on the roster as well. It was only towards the end where he was really put into that Tracer role, which is mainly because Esker wasn't necessarily the best Tracer that they could possibly field, and Guido needed to have that 100% Tracer playtime like was the meta in the last season.
Oh, it looks like we're headed to
Ilios.
Ilios.
Here we go, starting off with Greece.
I would love to see Guido if he's going to play some range sniping, perhaps even flexing onto the Widowmaker would be exciting as we start this one off. It's also going to be one of the maps where Libero can showcase that Widowmaker in Ruins, where he's very powerful there.
That's true.
Definitely something to keep in mind going in this first map, that Libero's hero pool, his Pharah is fantastic, his Widowmaker is fantastic. It's a very good map for Meta Athena. Can't call them the favorites even with this Ilios first map, but it's a map where they can use their strength. Their DPS players are the star players. And Saya player, man, coming out with the Widow, I think is something that Lunatic-Hai needs to respect when we go into this first match.
This is actually, that's one of my favorite things about Meta Athena's DPS is the fact that they have almost pure hit scan and projectile players. Because Libero, of course, was previously known for his Genji, of course, and his Pharah has been fantastic. But man, they're going to be put to the test now against Lunatic-Hai, looking for that first place. We'll see what happens as we get into game number 1.
Get it?
I think there are more Lunatic-Hai fans in the audience, Wolf. I'm going to go out on a limb, say that that is seeming like the case.
There are very few empty seats, though, in the meta. Athena fan side is also full. I mean, it's...
I'd wanted to caveat that with full of Lunatic-Hai fans.
Yes. But it is going to be a series where I think that there are the meta Athena fans out there that want to see them at least take a map here, take a series, since they've been so well-known, so famous for so long. Certainly not as famous as Lunatic-Hai or Runaway, but still.
Well, it looks to be exactly what you said here with Guido hopping on the Zenyatta, so seems like he's going to be flexing to the support position now. And who are you? Interestingly, on the Tracer to start things off.
Yeah, it'll be Eska on Soldier trying to deal with the pharmacy they very easily predicted would be their opponent's composition.
Yono's actually played mostly Mercy so far this season, and it makes sense here on Lighthouse.
So far hasn't been knocked out of the sky, though, actually. Eska couldn't get a clear line of sight. And this actually may be the first cap. They're going to have to dive to take it.
Yeah, Miro's going to jump through. Pretty sure he got booped off the edge, though, as Hunya is just going to launch himself at him. The mech is going to go down here as well, though, as Meta Athena setting themselves up on this point, doing damn decently as well.
Yeah, when you go into the Soldier composition to counter the Pharah and you're unsuccessful in killing her, obviously you're going to have a bad time, as we just saw so much free damage done by Libero, who's soon to have his Rocket Barrage. They have a res available, so such a great first take for Meta Athena. The concussive blast there just was really the cherry on top of the cake, because they couldn't do enough damage. Eska was too pressured. They're going to go for an immediate dive here again, try to build ultimates.
Yeah, Hoon down to about half health, but probably could have stayed in on that point. They're just aiming elsewhere. Side player's going to grab one. They lose Rio, but they grab him right back immediately. He's going to be able to get the kill onto Guido at the same time. So nicely done here from Meta Athena, who's staving off Lunatic-Hai very, very well. So you're trying to get his head around what he's going to do up against his higher player.
It's very efficient, what we just saw from Meta Athena as well. Only using 2 ultimates there. Rocket Barrage about to be available. Hoon actually being very decent tonight on this D.Va, never as famous as his Zarya, at protecting the DPS and at protecting the Lucio specifically we've seen.
Yeah, this positioning that they've had for this whole map has been fantastic as well.
Yeah, they're just so aggressively forward that Eska can't fire pot shots at this Pharah. So Neg was taken out. They can't even contest. They can't engage anymore. Not against this.
Nope, that's enough picks. Libero is going to even clean up Toby as well. Looking for these staggered kills on the back end. We've got 75% still ticking up for Meta Athena. It will most likely be that 99% switch if Lunatic-Hai are even able to get it.
They've got their full ults here. Obviously, Who Are You very close to his pulse bomb, but otherwise the big 6 readily available. And yet again, the accuracy's been so good, Eska has just not been able to get shots off. He might have to use the tac visor to eliminate that pharmacy before res is up. That would be huge for them. They don't know that res isn't yet available. If he can kill the Mercy before that happens, that would be their opening here. Tac visor might be the way to make it happen. Their approach is pretty predictable, though. They keep coming from the same angle.
Oh, and side player gets another one.
Yeah.
His pulse bomb timings has been fantastic as Libero throws down the Rocket Barrage, does manage to get the kill onto Miro, and getting rid of that front line, we say it all the time, is so, so important.
Double res.
Yeah, Hoon staying in there, and Yonu exactly right, just going to bring up the monkey one more time. Libero's able to fire those rockets out with reckless abandon, and Lunatic-Hai, they did get the recap. Meta Athena should be able to grab this one back again.
Just trying to hold it here, and they might actually be very able to do so because they use their ults very much staggered, and Miro still has this Primal Rage available. Just holding on to it until the last moment here just to make sure that they do get that stagger.
Chris is going to get booped off the edge though. Side player trying to answer back here, but thankfully the support's stepping up once again for Lunatic-Hai. Knocks off here from Miro. Primal Rage helping out there as Yonu's going to finally fall down.
I think Meta Athena saw a little bit of blood in the water there. They certainly wanted to get the recap after they got the pick onto Eska, and they knew that Eska wasn't going to be really available there to try to deal with. That's why the Rocket Barrage came through. Guido getting that kill immediately meant that they couldn't get the clean sweep they wanted. Then they trickled in one by one, and Miro saved his Primal Rage until the last second there, just to make sure he could knock them off to get the respawns in. Very well played by Lunatic-Hai.
Yep.
That's how you
switching
use
over to the McCree now as well, so giving up on the Soldier play. Try and get those pot shots, and Hoon's just going to punish him for it immediately. Who Are You still darting around this back line, but they want to get back to this point. We're going to get to 99-99 very, very soon. Oh, who are you just going to get knocked off the edge? Cyplay going to finish off that kill, and Meta Athena finally fighting back. They've only got one more ultimate left, and Libero, he switched over to the Genji at the same time. The double boop comes out from Chris. Meta Athena should be able to get this, and overtime's ticking down. Meta Athena looking to grab Lighthouse here and draw first blood in this matchup that we'd written them off of. To be perfectly honest, I'd written them off. Didn't think Meta Athena were going to be able to pick up a map, but this is the best way to start.
The approaches we saw from Lunatic-Hai were very predictable. They came in every time with Miro leading the charge. He was trying to build up as much ult percentage as possible. When the tank dive came in, Hoon was able to do enough damage to Eska consistently for the pulse bombs, or sorry, the pickoffs to come in from Saya player. Sure, he did get 2 pulse bomb picks. But if you go back and watch the kill feed, you notice the first member to die every time for the pushes for Lunatic-Hai was Eska, because they knew that if they eliminated, especially when they had the Farrakop running, that soldier, it meant that they could run train basically in the skies, destroy everybody with the high ground advantage. And Lunatic-Hai just kept taking the same approach. They need to protect their DPSs more against the pharmacy cops if we're going to continue to see them.
Well, Meta Athena now going to switch to this triple DPS composition. Hyunwoo is known to head onto that Sombra at times. Saya player, on the Widow, and of course, doesn't disappoint. It's not necessarily the Wolf and Atlas moment where he was getting pops and we were just yelling like crazy people.
Wait until we go to Anubis
We'll see how
later.
crazy we get, exactly.
So, we're going to have this matchup between him and Eska, not in terms of 1v1 against each other necessarily, but in terms of how much damage they can both get done with this Widow pick. Looks like the first cap will go to Meta Athena with those opening picks.
Yeah, tanks just setting themselves up on the point, no one wanting to provide a target for themselves. Miro's going to take down Chris. Libero playing super aggressively, does get the mech, which is very important. So he's going to be able to get their first cap. It looks like Lunatic-Hai are going to be able to get in there, but yeah, EMP comes down, and Lunatic-Hai are going to be able to grab the kill. Saya player gets a pot shot off onto Miro, but it's going to be about that. The extra kills are going to be important. Who are you throws a celebratory pulse bomb into the air.
Yeah, definitely not going to be the one he was looking for, but it's a nice early recap for Lunatic-Hai, who had that unfortunate deficit. We are going to see Libero switch again now to the Genji here, and it is going to be Saya player on Tracer, so they're going to dive now. As what wasn't working for them at the beginning is no longer, and they lost control of the high ground they needed to control in order to make the Widowmaker valuable. So I like this choice a lot. It's going to be much more difficult for Eska to get picks against this hyper-mobile comp now. Speaking of which,
yeah, Libero's going to dive all the way forward. He's going to ask whether he could get these reflects onto the Widowmaker as well, who seems to be tasked with taking him down, but he can't actually find him until now. Yeah,
but
the damage has already been done,
yeah.
man. Exactly right. 4 all ready to go down, and he's just going to get punished. Libero in the backline on his own, and with no one else there, of course, everyone just turns around and kills him. So now we're ticking up to about 50%. Meta Athena did get a cheeky 16 to start things off, but Lunatic-Hai in well and truly control right now.
Yeah, they also have the ult advantage. They are going to go ahead and use this Infrasight to actually gain another advantage. Looking for the pick here onto Libero. Very annoying right now. Basically, Meta Athena can't really show or try to dive, but they'll be picked off immediately as they show, so they have to wait for this to wear off. Now's a good opportunity, now that it's gone, to actually come in, and that's where they're going to try to take it. Immediately to dive onto Guido in the backline, but he's protected.
Yeah, great Discord, but Primal Rage is there to keep him alive, and Miro just jumps on top of Libero. Oh, Eska, beautiful shot.
There you go, man.
You could say the tracking was also pretty good there as well, as who are you looking for more kills, and Meta Athena, I mean, Lighthouse looks so good, but this Ruins has been a disaster.
It certainly has. Eska's just gotten these opening picks. He's controlled this zone so well that Meta Athena has to do sloppy dives in order to try to break it. Now he's got so much control, he's going to stand on the pillar. Meta Athena is going to have to try to use this EMP to get opening picks to retake, but it's going to be very difficult. They can build a longer fight. They will have the sound barrier.
Yeah, looking to try and get himself up there, but you can see sound barrier comes in, and Lunatic-Hai get it before the EMP goes
Denial.
off. Beautiful timing.
Denial on the sound barrier as well. Chris was midair when he died. Such great coordination here for Lunatic-Hai. Looks like that might just be the end of this second point here.
Yeah, overtime ticking down. They're not going to be able to get back to that point, and Lunatic-Hai tied up, but it is still 1-1. Thankfully for Meta Athena, they were able to take down that Lighthouse, and we'll be heading to Well for the final here for Ilios.
Kind of ironic that in the match, the map we were talking about that played to the strengths the most of Ruins, to what we were talking about, Saya player, to
that's
Meta
what I was
Athena.
expecting, and he started off with a brilliant headshot to begin the map, but then all went downhill from there.
It's a weird matchup because if you lose control of where you need to be taking shots as the Widowmaker, you have to give it up and switch. So that's what they did. He switched to the Tracer. But they were never able to regain control of the zone to allow the dive to happen. So every time they did dive in, it was sloppy because you can't take a patient dive. You can't take a coordinated dive when there's a Widowmaker just shooting pot shots at your Winston. When your Winston comes into the fight with half health, doesn't matter if he pops his bubble down or not, he's going to die right away. So when they lost control of that zone, they never were able to take it back and never built ultimates very efficiently either.
And who are you? Thankfully, the fan service finally comes in as he's on his Genji.
Been a while.
It's been so long, but he's still so good. You can guarantee that one as Libero in the skies, trying to take some people down, but Lunatic-Hai, they're the ones that have gotten rid of Hoon already. And oh, this is a lot of damage available here from Libero with stacked up targets. The Rockets finding the mark there as well. This house is not very safe.
So beautiful that after they got the pick onto Hoon, they knew they could actually take the approach inside the building there. And so as a result, they get multiple opening picks here. Libero's still alive, but the bigger story is Lunatic-Hai getting those kills in the building.
Yeah, and Lunatic-Hai's strategy is just ignore the Pharah. He was shooting freely that whole time, but what are you supposed to do without the rest of your team being alive? Hoon does make his way back as they do claim at least the mech, but can they get more from this is the question. Libero very close to that rocket barrage to start things off.
Okay, this is actually still pretty close. They're going to go for one last contest. Eska does toss the pulse bomb and miss it. Might be time to switch to the soldier if they can't get this flip. Does knock Hoon out, but loses his life for it.
Yep, Sire player stepping up once again as well as he takes down Miro. Just the frontline focused Tracer play that we've seen. And who are you? What is it with this guy and trying to kill Pharah's as Genji? He does it every single time. Transcendence coming out from Guido as well as Lunatic-Hai are investing to try and get this point to start things off. It hadn't even started yet for anyone. Yeah, and Hyonu's going to bring back Hoon.
Oh man, it does get taken out here. The longest opening contest ever on this map.
This is huge, man.
All right.
Lunatic-Hai going to bring it all the way back as well as we've got Sound Barrier coming in. Libero popping himself out of the well. That was looking dangerous for a second, but got to remember he can fly and that's useful. And Libero! Oh my goodness, I thought he might even survive that as he rocket barrages Miro out of the way.
Now, this is still going to be the cap for them. Zumba's pushed off now. Finally, they'll get it. Lunatic-Hai used a lot of resources there. We're going to watch this again, it looks like. Lunatic-Hai used a lot of resources, a lot of ultimates to try to get the flip too, so actually they're down in ultimates right now.
I feel like, you know how you get gold medals for doing the most damage? I feel like Libero's on like a platinum medal right now. This guy's doing so much work.
And they're still unwilling to switch to the soldier, the soldier that was dove upon successfully so many times from Athena. It's a big flex for Lunatic-Hai to move away from it because it was so unsuccessful on Lighthouse. So you can respect it, but it's not doing them any favors.
Now, Eska also going to pass a pulse bomb into a defense matrix, almost on purpose by the looks of things. That was a bit dangerous as Libero and Chris going to get the work done. Who are you booped into oblivion, which is definitely not what you want.
So Meta Athena now building towards those ults. They had a nice lead earlier, but now it's really going to start to show with the res coming up.
Yeah, exactly. Right now as well, which gives them so much safety and space. Libero still just raining death down from above, and who are you finally switching over to the Doomfist, the first Doomfist that we've seen so far this series?
Feels a bit late though. It's coming in to try to protect Eska when the dive comes through. It's the counter dive Doomfist. Oh man, another pick on the Toby. Saya player on fire with this Pharah comp. He's actually really the protector. The best defense is a good offense is what he's saying right now.
Yeah, and the smack talk was definitely not coming when we were talking about Saya player in that interview to start things off, but he doesn't care. He's playing as if he was the one that was saying everything.
Eska needs to get some shots against this Pharah right now because it is wrecking havoc on the tank line. No one is shooting at Libero right now. He's not even being fired upon. Where's Eska? He's just so pressured he can't get a line of sight to fire. Yeah, they're back in the spawn. They're back in the spawn, Atlas. He needs to get out and to get some shots. He's waiting for the Deadeye.
I feel like Zumba's coming over here to give him a pep talk. It's like, come on, Eska, it's okay. The rockets will stop. They will stop. If you put bullets in him, they will stop.
He's not willing to fire until he has Deadeye. He's that scared of the dives coming through. Sound Barrier is going to try to end this. Look at this great dive as soon as he comes out.
Brilliant, yeah. Deadeye comes in, but who cares? It can be high noon as much as you want. If you're dead, it's not going to work out as Meta Athena continuing to get the kills. Overtime now ticking down 99-0 A domination so far for Meta Athena on the well, and they're continuing to get the kills. Lunatic-Hai, last-minute defense that they have been able to execute so many times was a disaster, and that's it. Control
Athena
goes to Meta Athena.
They take their first map of the season, and the match that matters most for Lunatic-Hai. And that's allowed Meta Athena cheer we heard at the end of that first match, and it was done on the backs of Libero. We talked about the DPSs being the carries. Their tank line was never as strong as Lunatic-Hai's, but that doesn't matter when they're consistently able to make Eska so terrified. He's not even walking out of the building till he has Deadeye. He gets dove
He was
the
traumatized, man.
The second he shows his face, he is dead in 2 seconds before the Deadeye animation can even complete. They are on him. And the counter to the Pharah has always been that long-range hit scan, and Meta Athena has practiced so well. They have clearly trained to make Libero their carry tonight, and they already have the counter to the counter, if so to speak, with this dive that's been so successful against Eska. He switched to the McCree probably because he knows that flashbang is going to give him some time, right, to be able to save himself when the Tracer dive comes in, when the Lucio dive comes in, or sorry, Winston dive comes in. And you and I said this right before we came in the match, that there is no tactical pause in this series unless Meta Athena wins control. And now, here we are.
Look at Prophet Wolf at it again. But, man, there are certainly a lot of things. And I was almost predicting seeing something like a substitution type noise as well coming down here, because maybe switching up the roster is the answer. It was certainly struggles with understanding who to field that was Lunatic-Hai's problem when they lost to MVP Space earlier on. Seemed like they'd figured it out in their match against Runaway, but
I mean,
this is a very different lineup.
I think the biggest fear has been dealing with the dive. Eska has struggled, and sure, Jaehong's not in the booth. Jaehong has obviously been one of the best protectors for Eska on Soldier when he's on the high ground. Think back to those Volskaya matches, the Eichenwald games. So without Jaehong in the booth, it doesn't feel like Guido's been able to accomplish as much, and he's been on the Zenyatta, not the Ana. Maybe making a switch to bring Jaehong back in, or put Guido on the Ana to just kind of have a bodyguard, so to speak, for Eska when these dives come through, the sleep darts, the biotic grenades. Maybe that's one way they can keep Eska alive to deal with the Pharah. Sure, we're going into Escort now. This is not going to be the map where they're worried about Pharah so much, so maybe the substitution comes later in the series. But Meta Athena clearly has an understanding of exactly what they want to do. Their execution has been crisp. And if you're a Lunatic-Hai fan, you're starting to feel scared for the first time already after game one.
Yeah, and it's actually really interesting because a lot of our questions for Lunatic-Hai, over the seasons as well, has been how do they deal with Pharah? Because some of the best moments are, who are you being the one who deals with the Pharah? Up in the sky with his Dragon Blade cutting down pharmacy compositions by himself. But the fact that he has to be there means that no one else is dealing with it, this has been a question for this team, and they didn't really do anything about Libero at all, and it seemed cool at the beginning of where they were able to get the picks around the Pharah, right? It's like, feel free to kill us, that's totally fine, we're going to kill the rest of your team in the meantime, but it just flat out didn't work, and they've got to find a strat for this.
They got the kills in the building, too. They were like, oh, well, Pharah can't hit us here, so we're going to actually take the fight to them. They overextended with their tanks. Camera was on Zumba earlier, and I think the Marine is making a point about how Zumba as well has been diving with Miro, and when those dives happen, if they don't get the picks, it means Eska's all alone. That's when Saya player's there. Zumba has historically been another protector again for Eska with the Diva, just kind of the babysitter Diva, which will not necessarily be how she's used after the patch comes live with the missiles and changes to defense matrix and whatnot, but maybe he needs to take a more defensive role here as well when the dive comes in. It looks like the coach is talking with him as well. It could be what the discussion point is here.
Yeah, we got some concern in the faces of Lunatic-Hai members as well, and if there's anything that you don't want to do, it's give a team that's completely down any sort of momentum, because Meta Athena right now have absolutely nothing to lose, and someone with nothing to lose, we've all seen the archetype, right? We've all seen a movie or two, Someone with nothing to lose is a terrifying person to deal with because they are unpredictable. If you give them any taste of victory, they might just take it out. So we'll see what happens on Hybrid. Dangerous, dangerous prospect, though, because Hybrid is certainly a place where Lunatic-Hai have been able to dominate.
I think they've got to take us to Hollywood here. It's been one of the best maps for Lunatic-Hai historically. They have the potential to run the Ana there, which has been so strong, and Guido was played today instead of Jaehong. We don't know why he's played exclusively the Zenyatta so far, but I think Hollywood is a good bet. You want to avoid King's Row, and I think with how well Saya player is playing on diving the backline, I think you also want to avoid Numbani here. I think Hollywood is the best option for Lunatic-Hai. Let's see where they want to take us.
Yeah, and I feel like Lunatic-Hai have always been so good on Hollywood anyway, but Eichenwald is another option, but King's Row, wow, back to an old favorite for Lunatic-Hai.
Well, this is the map where Meta Athena made with Changshik, who's not on the roster, that Zarya Reinhardt play so strong here.
Oh, yeah.
And it felt like it was a risk in the past, at the beginning of this group, to pick this map because we were thinking we were going to see a lot of Phalanx. We're going to see that World Cup strat with the Zarya Reinhardt.
Doomfist comes in and ruins everything.
And we saw the Junkrat as well, those comps, the Hanzo comp. We thought that would be one of the best styles that would make Meta Athena a powerhouse in this group.
Yeah.
But every time they played on King's Row, they've not shown us that. So I guess Lunatic-Hai is no longer afraid to run this map.
Yeah, but Lunatic-Hai weren't necessarily, we saw her switch over to Doomfist once and die and then switch back. So it might be that they're not too worried about the Doomfist being a problem. We may actually see that Phalanx composition that you were talking about because it's not going to be able to get disrupted. But ladies and gentlemen, we'll see what happens. Already things have been messed around with Meta Athena winning a map. We'll see whether they can do it again as we head to King's Row.
I get it.
Uh-oh. Do you see what I see? See a Miro on a Reinhardt?
Oh, goodness me.
I don't think he's necessarily going to stick with that, but we do have Guido on the Ana now, and it looks like he is sticking with it.
Oh, he's sticking with it for now. We've been trolled before, though, Wolf. Come on, man. Oh, wow, he's actually got... Okay.
Miro, don't play with our hearts like this.
What a jerk.
Man, in like 20XX, this type of trolling will be banned. Commentators will make it.
Is Zumba going to be going back, though? Are we going to see the Zarya coming out? Could be an opportunity, and then who are you? Well, he's already switched over now.
It looks like
Okay, there we go. I'm hoping that Hyonu stays on this Orisa, but he's not going to. Ana's going to be coming in.
If there's one way to swing momentum and emotions back in a series, it's to defeat Meta Athena with the comp they built and became famous for with the Reinhardt Zarya. And that's what we're going to see. Rio is running it too. It's going to be
the triple tank.
Meta Athena running the triple tank, the old school style. They're bringing the Hanzo.
And Side Player is going to be so much of this team's damage. Thankfully, the Ana's there as well for some long range. They're looking down at each other saying, oh, dang it, we had the same idea.
Yeah, they scouted out the comp. They know what it is now with the Hanzo Sonic Arrow.
Oh, God, Zumba is so good at Zarya. Already able to pick up a couple of extra kills.
Yeah, he got the opening pick as well. And he is leading in ult charge right now. So Meta Athena didn't know what was coming until they tossed that Sonic Arrow, but they can reset here.
And this is such a treat as well. I mean, Hoon Zarya has been so famous for so long. Zumba as well. We just saw it at the World Cup, just looking so good.
So the difference in comps here is the Doomfist, which can break through those Reinhardt shields very easily to get into the backline. That's going to be who are used function when they go deep here. Okay, here he goes. Charge up that Rocket Punch. Does cancel it. Wanted to wait for an opportunity. Here it is, though, with the Bionic Grenade from Guido.
Yeah, jumps in with the Seismic Slam, and they do take down the shield. You see, that is why the Doomfist tears apart these compositions.
Yeah, and I think that Meta Athena will have to make a switch here, or else they're just feeding too much.
They're going to get microwaved, man. They're just going to get microwaved. And Zumba is stacking it up. Look at this guy. He's always at such high charge. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Hoon is the most famous Zarya player in Korea, but Zumba is just making a case for it again. He also started his career with Zarya play, so two great Zaryas battling it out here. And so far, because the Doomfist is countering it so well, we're going to see Meta Athena switch back to what worked on Ilios. They're going to use this pharmacy comp to try to basically fly over the shields. Eska has attack visor that should be able to give them a lot of time here.
Yeah, they got a nano boost as well, so it can actually be that nano visor to come in.
And notice Guido is protecting him too. He's with him. Oh, but if Side Player wins the matchup, it doesn't matter.
That boosted damage coming out of the Soldier is crazy. Meta Athena now going to invest as the sound barrier does come in. Zumba has been boosted though, and he's doing so much work with this laser beam. Takes down Hoon, and there's the Graviton Surge. Massive damage, unbelievable. Lunatic-Hai, their defense looking immaculate at this stage. Not even a tick going over to Meta Athena.
Oh man, the sleep here onto Libero as well. That's going to be a extended death timer. Well, actually looks like they do save him. still extending his snap there, I suppose. But look at this, right on top of the shield at a great angle. What an incredible Graviton Surge, actually catching air targets there. And there's no escape from that with the recent patch.
That was like basically Zumba just winning the entire fight by himself.
I think he just won the internet as well with that move, man. Nothing more interesting will ever happen today than what we just saw. Okay, Yanu's holding on to this res. This is going to be their opportunity. They get the pick on the Eska as well. This is their moment. They need to do this now. This is going to be their best chance.
It's an exchange of kills though, so not necessarily a huge deal, but the res might change things around, but okay, Zumba coming down again. He's just cutting through the members of Meta Athena.
Hey, he needs to survive here, though. It looks like they're not going to be able to hold this. There's the cap. So they did eventually get through with that opening pick onto Eska. And yet again, it's Libero's Pharah that's been making Lunatic-Hai rue the day. Speaking of which.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit of a late cap, though, so only 3 minutes for this Streets phase. Has generally been a pretty quick part of King's Row, as history dictates.
And even though Zumba almost had enough for a Graviton Surge, it's just going to be time to make the full swap to the normal composition here. Who are you on the Soldier? Sorry, on the Genji with the Soldier, though. No Tracer. Eska continuing to use this Soldier because of the Pharah. And let's see how well Guido protects him. He switched back to the Zenyatta. He was sticking right with him the entire time. They're going to stay grouped for now to make it more difficult for him to be picked.
Yeah, and look, if Libero keeps doing this, then, I mean, this is the question that we have for Lunatic-Hai right now. How do you deal with Libero? Show us a good way of doing that, because if they can't figure it out, then Meta Athena looks so much better in this series. Miro's going to take down Rio. We've already proven that Libero is the answer to success here for Meta Athena. Really great timing on that sound barrier as well, saving Saya players live.
Yeah, Chris actually really key here with that sound barrier. Now actually Saya player could do the extra damage required to knock Zumba out of the mag and stop this defense in its tracks.
Attack Vise is going to come down, so Libero is eventually dealt with. Still, it seems like it's just not necessarily enough, as when Libero goes down, Saya player is the one that's able to get these shots through. His hit scan's fantastic, we know it.
It's going to be another pick here. Rio did have to use the Primal Rage for this. In fact, it's another one of those pretty predictable dives we're seeing here. Miro is going to try to force this in using his own Primal Rage.
Yeah, Transcendence a long way away here from Meta Athena as well, as Chris still trying to get back to that sound barrier. So support ultimates that are so coveted are a long way away. Guido almost with his Transcendence if they want to go for this last-minute defense, and it looks like Lunatic-Hai are going for it. Dragon Blade very close, and we'll see whether Who Are You is going to throw it down. We've got the Transcendence, and yeah, there it is, Dragon Blade. He's picking up kills left, right, and center. Everyone getting cut down. That's a Quadra, if you don't mind, for Who Are You, and they're going to stop it. It is exactly the right time.
So well coordinated. They know the time bank is low, so this kind of move is worth it. If we're looking at a 2:30 time bank here for Meta Athena, you probably don't see Lunatic-Hai commit these many ultimates. They want to get the hold here on point B, and they're very
only
much,
a minute.
Yeah, there's very much a time ticking down for Meta Athena they have to worry about. So this was a great play. It was expensive in terms of ult usage, but Meta Athena doesn't have a great ult economy themselves. They will have support ultimates soon, but their comp is not designed to win fights with support ultimates. It's designed to win fights at range with Saya player, and that's when the Genji pickoff totally destroys Meta Athena's comp.
And
that
now,
first pick is so important.
Yeah, now if Lunatic-Hai are able to get any sort of picks here, the run back is just a disaster. Libero throws a pulse bomb, but it's not going to find any joy at all. Thankfully, Who Are You is going to be the first one to go down. If you're a Meta Athena fan, they're trying to push this one forward, but look at how much space is being gained. Saya player coming in with Attack Visor, just looking to try and take down some barriers. Does get Zumba, but not sure whether he got exactly what he wanted out of that one. The rest of the team, though, they're going to be able to cut through. And a Primal Rage coming out from Rio is going to be enough. So they do eventually get that cap on point B. They're going to get some follow-up kills here as well as we make our way into the Foundry.
This entire game has really been, and this entire series really has been defined by the DPSs. That's the arena that Meta Athena said was going to be theirs. It's what was going to be their focus. And the Soldier players getting picked or not has actually decided most of these fights, not the tanks being destroyed first. It feels like an old meta here. We're watching the Soldier versus Soldier. All right, Transcendence is both players having them available here, but Lunatic-Hai does have that sound barrier for extra protection. Miro's going to try to take the high ground approach here. They're going to go deep on the dive.
Yeah, they have both Transcendences now coming out. Toby's got his sound barrier to follow up, though, and he's going to throw it in. Yeah, immediately after that Transcendence falls down. Who Are You? Throws in a celebratory pulse bomb, but they haven't exactly been hitting the mark so far this series. Doesn't matter. He's going to be able to pick up the Zenyatta off the back end, and Eska deals with that pesky D.Va.
So
more
well
defense
played.
matrices available. And yeah, Lunatic-Hai, they've got those ultimates. When the supports are empowered, it just feels like they're a completely different team. A juggernaut unable to be taken down.
Miro went in early to draw a lot of the aggression. Then the Transcends protected him, so he was able to do more. And they had the Sound Barrier, which was perfectly staggered. So they basically just out-sustained Meta Athena, who's now desperately going to put Libero on this Doomfist to try to get the all-in kills. They don't have ults really to work with. They will have the self-destruct to try to open up some picks, and that Sound Barrier they didn't have in the last fight. But Lunatic-Hai in prime position to hold this push.
Yeah, Ryu in so much trouble. Sound Barrier comes in, but it's not enough to save the monkey, so it's a 5v6.
That means no Primal Rage in this fight either.
Yeah, real disaster, and they've got no reses this time. Hyunu not able to help them as Zumba throws out a self-destruct and is able to get some joy. Hoon answering back, though, with his own, as we are going to be able to get some kills, but they're all the blue ones. Lunatic-Hai looking brilliant on the defense. As Foundry, it's a difficult one to push through, on King's Row especially, against a team like Lunatic-Hai, but decent meterage from Athena, you have to say, if
Primal
this
Rage.
is going to be the hold.
Primal Rage wasted here. That's it. That's the hold. They're not going to get completion. Primal Rage coming in at the last second would have been nice if he didn't get picked earlier. Eska's understanding of when to use the attack visor has been brilliant. He used the attack visor to get 2 picks right when the self-destruct came down, because it's in that moment when your mech is in the middle of the air flying across the sky and you can't defense matrix. He used it as soon as he saw the self-destruct came out. No protection. The defense matrix came in after he remech'd, sure, but the damage had already been done. It feels like this entire series is kind of Saya player versus Eska. Who's getting the picks? How's the protection? If either of those players go down, everything else collapses, as both these teams are so well versed at dealing with the Winston dive. And the Zenyatta play has been great on both sides, but I feel like Guido is really making a case for him being played over Jaehong tonight.
We'll see whether he's going to continue that kind of performance, because it's not exactly the most distance being gained on King's Row, but a decent effort from a team that was looking down the barrel of a 0-9.
Yeah.
Meta Athena could potentially put up some sort of stalwart defense. We know that they are capable of these sort of things, but they're looking like they're sticking to this dive composition. Once again, Libero back on the Doomfist.
It feels like Hoon has put his pride behind him, you know? He's the more famous Zarya player for this map, or was until this season. And even though it was probably very likely they were going to run the Zarya defense, after seeing that Zumba outplayed him, essentially, when they were on attack, he's not going to run that risk anymore. He's going to play the Diva. He's going to play the safer comp here. So, oh my god, they picked Lucio, like, I scouted, I can't believe he'd show me that information.
That's amazing. Free information right there, only 5 more needed.
Toby's like, well, I guess I'm not going to play Widowmaker after all. He knows I'm Widow, so I guess I'll trick him. You know what I'll do?
Yeah.
He thinks he's sneaking playing Lucio. I'll play Lucio too.
Yeah, got him.
All right, looks like we're going to see a Mei attack here with this Reinhardt Zarya comp. So different type of phalanx. The Mei can slow targets to empower the Doomfist.
I was
and also
gonna say,
isolate them.
This is the most slow style composition that we've seen thus far with this phalanx strategy, but Ice Wall going to help for creating space here for Lunatic-Hai as they move themselves onto the point.
It also empowers Reinhardt, so he can actually hit his hammer on target. So really good for empowering these kind of melee carries.
Oh, someone got sleepy. Not again. It's a disaster. Soon that fell down, but he's going to wake back up again. Libero is going to get cut in half, though. Lunatic-Hai, this attack is looking much different to Meta Athena's as they are cleaning up. With only Hyunu and Saya player left remaining, I have a feeling that this should be the cap, unless Meta Athena can run back as quickly as possible.
Rio's being dead means I think it's very unlikely, since he was the best bet they had to buy time. It's like Saya player is going to sneak into the back line for a second to buy time for him to respawn, but he's already used his recall, so that should be the cap.
Yeah.
Although, he does come back in for a second. Here's the tank. Here's Rio.
Saya player's going to find a pulse bomb, but doesn't exactly get any joy with it there at all. Who are you? Punching his way around, not exactly finding kills just yet. The uppercuts and these rocket punches are just disrupting Meta Athena way too much. And look at this, split them up and destroy. He grabs himself 3 quick ones off the back of it. It's beautifully played.
It was really well done by Meta Athena Saya player buying the time for that push, but because they were so desperate on time and it was like a 98% on that tick, there was just no way they were going to have a coordinated dive. They didn't have time to coordinate. They needed them to get there ASAPly. You can understand them doing this because they know that their time bank was much, much worse, 2 minutes worse, in fact. So for them to just let Lunatic-Hai have a 5-minute time bank was not something they were willing to do. And even though it looked silly, I think had it worked, it would have been very well worth it.
The problem is, we're now ticking up to close to 6 ultimates as well for Lunatic-Hai on attack. Like, they didn't waste anything in that last battle. It was just who are you jumping around and putting his fist in everyone's face.
Okay, we are going to see Zuma just toss this down right on the payload. That's going to be a wipe.
Yeah, that's going to be the Space Jam coming down as well, as we had a Meteor Strike over the top. So much damage. That's how you deal with Libero. Kill the rest of his friends. Like we were talking about earlier on, this Streets phase looking pretty quick for Lunatic-Hai so far.
And they didn't use everything, so when they go to the more important part, when they actually try to get completion here of point B, that's the struggle. That's when Metathena's going to have these respawns. They have so many tools to actually force this through. Miro's going to set up for the first one here, the Earth Shatter. It's up to Nano as well. Feels old school here.
Yeah, he's got a big hammer
There it
now.
is.
Big Earth Shatter comes in as well, but good Transcendence timing from Yonu. Keeps himself alive. Eska with the right clicks onto side player is going to be a big problem here for Meta Athena as far as damage, but Libero, he's got a rocket barrage. He's looking for space to try and throw that one down. I don't think an Ice Wall is going to exactly be enough, but he has to get himself in the right position to capitalize on this one. Right now it's just rockets flying forward and he's dealing with these shields, and the rest of his team is just being dealt with by Lunatic-Hai. It's not enough, and he hasn't found space to press that Q button at all.
This is not an arena where Farah excels either. The shields are in her face there. There's not a lot of space for her to get behind and find those angles. So, you know, it feels like Meta Athena is playing this style because they feel like it's the only thing that's working for them, but unfortunately that makes a big weak point for them, since now when they're switching to the Genji, it just feels like it's too late. They've been so hell-bent on running this far because it's what gained them success on Ilios, but Zuma's holding on to another one of these Graviton Surges, and I have a bad feeling about how this map is going to end for Meta Athena.
Yeah, they're just waiting for the dive. You can feel it right now, waiting for his opportunity to throw in that Graviton Surge.
Waiting for that D-Matrix to go down.
Yeah, and he's got a big shield on top of him there as well, so still holding it, and it doesn't seem like he even needs it. We've got the Nano Boost down, and he's just going to buzzsaw everyone with a laser beam. And look at this, the payload making its way gloriously around the corner. It looks like we are going to have a tied-up series, Wolf, as Lunatic-Hai a statement reclaim.
I think that this game, it might look like a stop on both sides, but I feel on both the attack and defense for Lunatic-Hai. But I think the game was really won when the Zarya battle was decided on the first defense attempt for Lunatic-Hai, because that small time bank meant that everything else that Meta Athena did had to be sloppier, had to be faster, couldn't be as well planned. They were never going to have the ults that they needed, the ults that Lunatic-Hai was so generously able to build with the Reinhardt that pushed them all the way to completion there. So Meta Athena, they may have looked like that was a sloppy defense, but they just needed to push it back earlier. They needed to burn that time bank, and once the first push came through, Lunatic-Hai just was always going to have more tools. They always had the bigger time bank. So Lunatic-Hai just played very well. The map choice certainly did work out for them. They won the Zarya versus Zarya.
And the thing that's really terrifying here is that Lunatic-Hai was a team that wasn't playing Doomfist, Wolf, and now that Who Are You back on the roster and finally able to demonstrate that, hell yeah, he knows exactly what he's doing, picking up so many kills, grabs his Genji at the same time, has a cheeky pentakill in there at the same time. Like, man, we've missed you, Who Are You? He's playing incredibly well. See what he's going to bring out as we move to a quick commercial break, guys. But when we do get back, it's Meta Athena that's going to try and get themselves back ahead in this series, reclaim some of that movement. But if we know anything, it's the fact that Lunatic-Hai likes to drop a casual map here and there.
Usually control.
Yeah, usually control as well, and then they're more than happy to go for any sort of sweep, be it just the casual reverse sweep after going down 0-2, or whether they just drop one and then win 3 in a row. It doesn't even seem to matter. Lunatic-Hai are just a team that just casually likes adding extra pressure to themselves, you know?
Oh, certainly.
It's just one of those things.
Indeed.
Man, I'm still impressed by what Meta Athena were able to bring out, especially on control, and as we move over to Assault, we'll see exactly what is going to happen for them, whether Sire Player is going to send us to Temple of Anubis and show us some of that Widowmaker play as well. Because
Indeed.
It was impressive.
That's right. So we are going to see that, of course, guys, after a short commercial break. And we'll come back after just a few to find out what map we're headed to.
에너지가 필요한 순간 핫식스와 함께 핫하게 즐겨라. 올여름 가장 핫한 리그 오버워치 핫식스 에이펙스.
Game, record, and stream without compromise.
Welcome back to Apex Season 4, ladies and gentlemen. Round of 16 is about to conclude. We basically have a best of 3 before we get to that round of 8. Group draw coming up straight after this match, but it's become a very interesting one now, Wolf.
Yeah.
Because it's tied up.
I did not expect this to be as close as it's been, and even though Kings Row looks like a stop when you look at the score lines, I think it was pretty close, and Lunatic-Hai just had Athena's number there. Now you have to imagine we're going to Temple of Anubis.
I want it.
You have to imagine you're going to be hearing Atlas and Wolf go, oh, with some Saya player shots. But Saya player didn't actually win the matchup against Eska in the Widowmaker on Ilios. Maybe some second thoughts. Then again, Eska will not very likely be playing the Widowmaker on Anubis, so we won't have to worry about that. But still, did not get the better end of those trades. Who Are You gave him some trouble there. So let's see if he wants to run it. But you know, it feels like it's just so strong for meta Athena, and you need to go back to what you're good at. They can't run the Pharah here necessarily. It's not a strong map for that. But the Widowmaker, they can certainly do that if they bring us to Anubis. If they bring us to Volskaya, it feels like there's a chance we see the Pharah, but again, very risky for meta Athena.
And certainly not a thing that you're going to do on point B as well. I mean, it's a point A strategy if you want to get that fast cap, but often teams can do that anyway with just regular dive. See where they're going to go. Temple of Anubis is going to be the choice, so understandable one for meta Athena. They have been fans of this one. And we're going to be looking at Saya player and seeing exactly what his hero choice is going to be, because if it is the Widowmaker, a lot is going to be on his shoulders for creating room, especially on point A, but can also be utilized very well on point B.
Yeah, I think that Lunatic-Hai will definitely choose attack first so that they don't have to deal with that first, and then can respond and see how he's playing when they're on attack. So they will have that option here, but we'll see as we get into the game. I think this is the best map for meta Athena, but if they lose this one, using, again, the Widowmaker, if they fail to actually get value out of their entire map choice, that's the reason is Saya player. If they can't do that, I think they lose all momentum in this series, Alice.
Yeah, I think this feels like do or die here, and They might be able to get themselves towards a Game 5 victory if they can win here, but I feel like Lunatic-Hai, there is still so much left in the tank. We'll see what they've got for us as we head to Temple of Anubis.
I get it.
Meta Athena fans are still loud in this audience, and it's great to see that despite the fact that they started off this season 0-6, fans still staying behind them, understanding that we all have our down times. Wolf,
That's
you know,
right. They prevented the 0-9. They're 1-7 now. We will see how Lunatic-Hai sets up for defense here. They do have Who Are You blind on the Genji. They did actually defend first, not attack first. So with Who Are You on the Genji here already, I think it's a pretty big sign. They expect the Widowmaker to be the opening choice for Meta Athena. And already we can see, at least with this troll comp they've logged in, that he will be having it here on the opener.
what do you mean troll comp? This is what I see in my solo rank every
Especially
single
the
time.
attack Symmetra and Hanzo together,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
exact troll comp right
That's
there.
the standard. That is the standard.
Yeah, see, it wasn't fully standard until they put Libero on the Junkrat. That's when I knew. So this is actually a really strong composition because Pharah both empowers the Widowmaker, or sorry, Mercy both empowers the Pharah and the Widowmaker. And when you're hiding from the Widowmaker shots, that's when Pharah can actually find a good angle on you, especially when the tanks are away. So this comp actually does have a lot of synergy, but it's very all-in a sense, because if you lose one member, then everything falls apart.
Oh wow, Who Are You just patrolling the area, making sure Side Player can't get himself into any sort of bird's nest. Keep himself up, but really good space being created by Meta Athena, making sure that Side Player does have that opportunity to potentially get up there, start raining down some terror, but Eska's going to take down Hyunu, and this could be important for starting off the defense on the right foot for Lunatic-Hai.
Who Are You is playing with fire, man. We've seen what Saya player can do to Genjis on this map. This has Hawksall.
Oh god, yeah, this is a disaster. So the staggered kills are going to come in as Meta Athena just looking to try and reset.
Looks like basically Saya player was hell-bent on killing Who Are You instead of actually trying to get the more valuable picks for his team. He will switch off now of that into this very slow, very risky Reaper composition with the
We've seen this work very, very well on point A's though. If you can spend some time in that left-hand building, it is certainly an option, and they are going to move over there straight away. Gets himself in, and this short range is going to be very, very helpful. Rez comes down. They need to keep Chris alive, but he doesn't have a sound barrier or anything available, and Eska's just getting free kills. Able to take down whatever he wants, and Who Are You just darting about. Picks himself up a health pack as well in celebration. You can see we're still ticking as Meta Athena still have a few members on this point. There's a Dragon Blade almost there though for Who Are You.
Oh, here it comes.
Yeah, grabs it out. Can he actually find the Mercy though? He wants it, but he's getting ran around.
So patient though. That was
Nicely
so
done.
beautifully done. He was so patient. Many times it looked like he should have dashed, but he knew that Yuna was going to dodge, so he waited for his moment where there was no hover available. That was very well played.
Yeah, Sleep goes down onto the Diva mech as well, and that's going to be taken out with a self-destruct casually.
Not all Dragon Blades have to look like a six-man wipe to look beautiful. Some of them have to be patient and well-timed. That was very cool to watch. They now are going to have this nice card, though, up their sleeve. The Death Blossom Saya player will have it. He built it very early because, as you said, he got into the point very quickly there. Did a lot of damage. This is an opportunity. Maybe they can use it with the sound barrier. Trying to get into position right now. Lunatic-Hai very well playing around this, though, spreading against it.
Yeah, Hyonu's actually going to be taken out first. I mean, it's not as much of a big deal. There was no res available, but still Who Are You's getting the work done. We've got it. Sound barrier being invested, and Meta Athena want it to be this time. And yes, Death Blossom available, not yet used. He's trying to get that health back by just getting these autos, these shots in with those shotguns.
Okay, sound barrier used here.
Oh, there we are. That's exactly what needs to happen. We've seen Divas be so incredibly good at dealing with the Pharahs, but Meta Athena are going to answer back despite the fact that the Pharah falls down. Libero not going to be there, but Meta Athena tearing people up. They've got the Death Blossom. Use that to try and clean house. Lunatic-Hai off this point. We've got the second tick at least. See whether a last-minute contest does come in, but it looks like Lunatic-Hai don't want to risk any staggers.
Yeah, switching with Eska here. They burned so much of the time bank. It's actually only in the end where they grouped up where Meta Athena was able to make this comp work. It was funny because we were watching, the ironic thing about all this is we're watching Saya Player's first-person view for so long while he wasn't doing anything. And it's not because he was wrongly positioned or because he was a bad Reaper player, but it was because Lunatic-Hai was so spread against him. But when they got in that one choke point in that room, that's when the Death Blossom happened. That's when they won the point. So Lunatic-Hai being so good until the last moment there.
Yep, now we've got Hoon and Rio actually going on a double dive here, but Lunatic-Hai able to repel them, and the rest of the support and DPS relatively unprotected now. We do have Saya Player being lifted back up now by Hyunu. But Rez on one is not necessarily the greatest opportunity. Libero with some free shots with the barrage. Nicely done, and Zumba is going to be taken out. Frontline removed, and Toby trying to run away. Does get a health pack, should be okay, but Meta Athena still getting the kills. Still trying to storm this point. They're getting the ticks. They're starting to tick this one up. They get the first one. Can they get the second? No, not quite, as they have actually made it onto this point, but Lunatic-Hai just trying to stall. Remember, overtime is very important, especially on Temple of Anubis, just because defender's advantage is such a huge deal. But if Meta Athena can do it here, that is such a statement.
Zuma on the wrong side of this with a defense matrix, so he does get the pick onto Toby with that Death Blossom.
Yeah.
That should be the second tick coming through. Self-destruct going to try to guarantee it. Good barrier here from Winston, though. Does end up getting the second tick regardless.
Yeah, Guido's going to be able to take down Chris, though. Pulse Bomb comes in. I believe that was actually on a D.Va mech. He was just in the wrong position, but Hyunu is going to answer by grabbing that res, and Meta Athena continuing to get these kills.
Guido trying to get the pick here onto the bar to stop a res from coming in. 35% of that, so not even near it yet, but still looking for that pick. And he's not getting anything else done anymore. Toby, so famous for buying time on this point. We'll use the sound barrier, but he's taken out too.
Yeah, dead immediately. Miro's going to jump his way forward. It's his turn to throw himself in and die, and he's going to do exactly that. We're going to see this start ticking up. Yet again, Guido trying to stop this one from happening, but he's losing his health bar.
Sound barrier is so well timed.
Wanted that Pulse Bomb to come in and actually destroy the rest of them. We thought that it might actually get some work done, but didn't get anything there at all. And who are you switching? We've got Toby switching to the Bastion. Yeah, exactly right.
Okay, they're going to have an EMP in just a second. This could be their moment to stop this. Here it comes. It hits many members, but doesn't like it necessarily will matter. There's no DPS.
We're about like 2 minutes and 20 seconds away, and this is the classic Lunatic-Hai moment where even though they're all... I know it's going to happen. There it is. Meta Athena get the full completion.
With a very decent
2 minute time bank. Yeah, exactly right. And on Temple of Anubis, that is such a huge deal. We've seen holds in situations like that until the overtime comes in, just because it's so close to spawn.
Saya Player won the push because he lived so long. The protection was so good.
Yeah.
We talk about
the Reaper change as well is just ridiculous.
Yeah,
that lifesteal on his shotguns, man.
But the reason why it works so well against Lunatic-Hai's stalling tactics is the stalling tactics revolve around the two most important members are going to be the D.Va and the Winston, and Reaper is basically the counter to those on that small point where they have to be right in his face. It maximizes his damage, maximizes his sustain, his lifesteal essentially, that allow him to live so long and bust up the tanks, which is just ruining how how Lunatic-Hai is defending. And that's why the Reaper is so strong here. It used to be only used with Talon comps for the Death Blossom, but in terms of its just raw DPS against the two tanks that are buying so much time, it can be very snowbally, and that's what we saw there. The Saya Player was just never, ever picked off. He lived throughout the entire fight.
And it was largely sort of Libero that did like to head over to that Reaper as well. I mean, Saya Player so far this season had been on like Tracer, Soldier, Widow, McCree, that sort of play here and there. But now seeing his Reaper is actually damn good.
Certainly is.
And it plays like it's like a slower moving Tracer. It feels like it does more damage, you know? It's like he's upgraded his tank.
It's very reminiscent of what we saw from Panthera in the grand finals with the Reaper on this map, on attack when they were facing Lunatic-Hai, and Lunatic-Hai struggled with it then, and they certainly struggled with it now, so good callback to that finals from Meta Athena here. This is not a done deal by them by any means, but still, they have the advantage now.
Oh yeah, and they're going to be very comfortable moving into this defense as well, so.
Let's see how Eska uses the Widowmaker. Obviously, he wants to look for Genji picks, but Libero is actually on the Sombra.
Yeah, super defensive comp here from Meta Athena. Not a massive amount of damage available, but look at their positioning, staying away from Eska's sightlines, and Saya Player is going to be the first one to grab himself a kill, and pick means that Lunatic-Hai have to get themselves back out of there, wait for him to respawn.
Lunatic-Hai's dive is so well done. They're so mechanically good at it. but it's also very predictable how they do it. So I think basically Meta Athena is trying to force them into a position where they have to go very deep in, and the Widowmaker doesn't get value because they're all hiding back there, and they have the counter dive set up.
Yeah, and you can take high ground in order to get yourself back onto the point there as well, so they're never going to be in that sightline that you were talking about. Who are you in a bit of a battle with the Sombra, but he's going to lose out. The Meta Athena grabbing the picks where they need to. Like,
so imagine literally trying to dive into that hugely fortified position on the right side there. It's just so unrealistic, and because they're back there, Eska can't do anything with this, so their comp is countered by the positioning for Meta Athena. EMP does go off here. Not going to be the greatest one of all time, but again, they get a pick on Who Are You. That's all they needed. And they just can't dive this without him now. They're going to try to, it looks like.
Yeah, they're focusing on just getting one single pick and then stopping and then moving back, making sure that Eska, like you say, not going to be getting any value. But it does mean Lunatic-Hai have been able to get themselves towards some ultimates. We've got Primal Rage and the Sound Barrier available, as well as that Pulse Bomb, which always seems to be
I
up.
almost feel like Lunatic-Hai should just take a run for the point, try to control that zone, and then force Meta Athena out of their turtled position, because as it is right now, they're not getting anything done. That's going to be a kill on Guido here as well. It ruins another push for Lunatic-Hai. They are going to make that dash for the point here, at least with Who Are You. Sound Barrier is used. I like this attempt much more than trying to dive the right side.
Yeah, oh, that Primal Rage timing was insane from Rio. Keeps himself alive and should be able to beat down this robot. He's going to be able to do so, but Libero's going to fall. Miro grabbing one back, but it doesn't seem to matter. Meta Athena on top of this one. Lunatic-Hai repelled yet again.
I like the idea to just Hail Mary the point, though. Avoid that turtle right side position. The problem is they did it without Guido. They didn't have his Transcendence, which is so important. He died because Saya player got the pick off there, then came back to the point. Now he has it, but they don't have the same amount of tools, namely Miro missing that Primal Rage, and they are going to just try to dive the right side, and an EMP is waiting for them.
Yeah, Libero's going to jump his way forward. There he goes. He should be able to lock this one down, but no. So low.
No Transcendence.
Yep, too good. Guido's not going to fall down. Not going to be able to stay alive through that one, and Who Are You's going to fall as well. So it's all just the coordination from Meta Athena, and that has not been something we've commended them for at all this season.
No, it certainly
what the hell?
not. And this is, I mean, brilliant defense. And you know what the cool thing about that EMP was too, was Libero actually wasn't trying to EMP. He was coming and saying, pop your Transcendence, I'm baiting you. And then when Guido didn't do it, what did he do? He popped it and killed him. And now he still has the Transcendence, sure, but time is running out. They're going to make that run for the point here, not going into the turtle position. Yet again, Lunatic-Hai is here, but this time they don't have a Sound Barrier. They've only got that Transcendence for support ultimates.
And they grab the first pick here as well, so this could be a huge deal for Lunatic-Hai. Got a Transcendence just for Meta Athena to try and hold on once again, because they don't want to let this one happen. But Miro, he's going to continue this pain. Good uppercut from Who Are You. Looks for the rocket punch but doesn't find it. But it's Eska. He's got the tack visor from the back line.
And there's that Sound Barrier. They didn't have it at the start of the fight, but the longer it went on, Toby built it up here. That's going to be the end of Libero. Does die with his EMP in hand. That's going to be 4 minutes here. 2 minutes, realistically, to beat the time bank of Meta Athena for Lunatic-Hai.
And they were so close to overtime there as well. They're looking for a bit of a snowball cap on the side of Lunatic-Hai. A few ultimates available as Who Are You staying on the Doom Fist. Libero with an EMP, but I'm sure we can actually find there. Yeah, of course, being able to eliminate the possibility of a defense matrix is important, but he's going to get punished for it almost immediately. And Meta Athena are getting wiped out, yeah.
It's the Reaper again that's going to deal with those delayers. It's going to deal with those tanks that are going to come out here. So this is such a smart move by Guido to make this switch. As soon as that D-Matrix goes down, he is a sitting duck against the Reaper. Actually has to go grab the health pack.
Who Are You's going to fall down, but now Eska, he's able to get so much of this damage in here.
It's all about Guido.
Yeah, no, he needs to stay alive. We're at about 99% on that Death Blossom, and he needs to stack it up. Now he's going to find it, and his health comes back as well. Just hangs out with Toby. Doesn't even need to use it.
That attack.
Temple of Anubis just looked easy.
Yeah. Well,
as far as these first two rounds were concerned.
Sure.
Both attacks fantastic from both teams.
We usually see a lot of overtime on this map, but it is common to see tiebreakers as well. Usually not with time banks this large, so we could even find ourselves in a 4-4 tiebreaker situation if this continues. Now,
Lunatic-Hai is certainly very, very good at that. If you guys remember that 7-game series final that we recently had for Season 3.
That's right. And the tiebreakers that Seth and I went into in the World Cup. But
yes,
let's zoom out here for a minute. That was really well done by Lunatic-Hai. They identified the trying to break the turtled position of Meta Athena was not the way. They got onto the point. They used the Transcends to buy the time for the longer fight for the sound barrier. And with the staggered respawns, they made Guido immediately switch to the Reaper, and they got the cap. They've got a better time bank now. Meta Athena is going to have to do better than they did last time to try to gain a massive advantage here. But they're on the same comp. It didn't work out for them brilliantly at first. They did eventually get those picks through.
They switched over to the Reaper. I'm interested as to why Meta Athena aren't just going to open with that, unless they just assume that Lunatic-Hai will be coming in with an answer for that specific composition.
I think the Reaper is too slow for the time bank that they have. I think they want to get this early. They're playing greedy with this. The Reaper might be the safer, longer plan, but this is definitely a greedy move for Meta Athena. They want to get this cap very quick. They want to grab a tick early with opening picks before ultimates are even a factor.
I feel like holding on this point A is certainly a possibility. Both of these teams seem to know exactly what to do as far as drawing that time out as long as possible the first time around. So look to see whether anyone can get some cheeky ticks, and any tick on this point A could be the
winning
difference.
factor. Yeah, absolutely. Could be the winning factor. All right, Side player looking for the Who Are You pick here.
Yeah.
Isn't going to find it. Does get the shot, though. Who Are You is actually going to have to deflect. Might go down here in just a moment. Hyunwoo's gone, though. They got the tick.
They've got the tick, exactly right. Bit of a sneaky one from Meta Athena, as Side player is just throwing some bullets into this mech and has to give up that high ground. Libero in trouble, rockets his way up, but Eska's going to follow him with some bullets, and Who Are You is going to clean up Side player. So nicely done. They eradicated the DPS. Meta Athena now need to try again, but that first tick has been achieved.
Important. So important. Could be literally the winning factor, if nothing else.
And was that just Side player on the backline? I didn't actually see what had happened as far as how that tick was picked up. Could have been Rio jumping in on top.
I think it was Rio sneaking in the back.
Oh yeah, of course. Side player's not on Tracer. I just assumed that Side player's on a Tracer, but we were watching him on Widowmaker.
He's on a Tracer with his reticle right now. Now he's on the, again, that Genji that they didn't run on the defense the first time. Now that it is here, he is trying to limit the value that Who Are You can get here. He's about to have that Dragon Blade. That may just be what ends this first overtime round.
Well, Zumba's going to be able to take down Rio, and he has himself a self-destruct to throw out as well. Dragon Blade is up, and we know what Who Are You is capable of doing with that one. And it does feel a little bit like that first tick is all Meta Athena's going to get, because we're ticking down to about 25 seconds. They're going to have to go for an aggressive push. But with the visor available, all the recon's been done here from Side player, knows exactly what's going on, so this is their opportunity.
This is their opportunity, but I think he needed a pick with it. He didn't get it. Who Are You's playing a lot safer this time than he was last time. They're going to see the health pack taken here. Deflect is on cooldown. Could have actually looked for the opening pick there with the barrage. Did not do it, but he's taken out by Side player off screen. So this is their moment. Will they be able to force this in?
Can they get down there? We've got a self-destruct flying through. Hyunwoo's going to make sure that Chris stays alive in this fight as well. Rocket Barrage comes down. He's just looking to take down the monkey, but he's got the Primal Rage to help keep him alive. Lunatic-Hai, they've only lost Zumba. Miro doesn't have Primal Rage for much longer, and Meta Athena are getting the kills. Yeah, can they move up to it? Yes, they do. So important. Even if they don't get this, that is so huge. They want to try and cap this out, try and get some sort of snowball moving towards the next point. And Who Are You to save the day here for Lunatic-Hai, but he's very, very low. Okay. That's going to be that.
So this might feel like a win for Lunatic-Hai, but remember, they really struggled to deal with the turtle composition of Meta Athena on point A. Yeah. This feels, to me, like an incredible win for Meta Athena. We're able to grab 2 ticks there, and it was a big risk to run Side player on the Widow. He was hoping to get picks the entire time, but he did, in the end, get that pick onto Who Are You, which opened up the entire point. Right before he could Dragon Blade, he died. Then they committed in, using the res to keep Chris alive so that they had the sound barrier, which allowed them to take the second tick. Very well coordinated by Meta Athena, and now they're going to run that same turtley style that Lunatic-Hai was so really puzzled by and struggled to deal with. However, the one weakness of the turtle is that if Meta Athena just stays over here on this right side and Lunatic-Hai all dive onto the point, they could get those ticks very quickly. But I still think this is going to be the setup here. Meta Athena is so good at dealing with the dive of Lunatic-Hai, they've mastered it.
Well, they've got to get to 3/4 of the way towards the cap. That is going to be it for Lunatic-Hai to get themselves ahead in this series, finally. Is the expected outcome, of course, guys. We have to remember, and we're talking about Meta Athena like a team that is well and truly standing up to Lunatic-Hai right now. This could go either way. Meta Athena have, like you said, set themselves up for success by grabbing those 2 extra ticks very, very well.
Okay,
Instead of it being thirds, this is like 3/4 of the way. So like it's even worse.
Yeah, it's
than
more
two
than 2
ticks.
ticks. Yeah, it's 76.7. They got to get that. Guido is going to play this Reaper opening, so they're playing the safer plan, the longer plan, because they have the better time bank. They're just going to make that Hail Mary push for it again.
Yep, giving up on any sort of Widowmaker playstyle here as Guido's going to make his way into the house. We've spoken about how important this is. Asuka's going to get the first blood as well.
Guido
in
needs
this
to
fight.
live. He's the key player here.
Yeah, but look at this.
They can't
They're
get on the
already
point.
ticking this one up. It's halfway through. And that is so good for still 3 minutes to go
Looks
in
like
this
it's
battle.
all going to end here.
Oh my god, Athena just got wiped out.
That's it.
Okay,
Literally, you're going to
jumping
buy
back on
time
the-
here for 1 second with Rio, and then that's going to be the end of it. Tracer steps off.
I don't think it's going to happen,
There's the
Wolf.
boot
I
from
think
Toby.
that Lunatic-Hai have done it, and they do.
And this was the perfect answer. It took them a long time on the first point to figure out how to deal with that right side turtle. I don't know what else to call it. There was a turtle and a shell on the right side. They couldn't break through with their dive. And so what they
But
did...
they were also playing the wrong composition to try and deal with it, right? I mean, it's a Widowmaker that came down, and Eska denied almost all of his effectiveness at 6 versus 5 if he can't get those shots in.
So what they did was they pulled him off the Widow, they put Guido on the Reaper, and when you dive in like that, if you can get control of the point, that's the hardest part about running an attack Reaper, is getting to the point, so that way you can actually do that damage in the choke points, in that narrow area, in that corridor. But what they did was they knew the turtle was there, so we're easily going to get on the point, which allowed the maximum damage to be done by Guido in that fight. And to dive into a Reaper composition from your turtle position, as Athena was, is very, very difficult. So, headsets are off in the booth. We might be having a tactical pause here, but man, that feels rough. Lunatic-Hai really had their number once they figured out how they were setting up and how to toss in. But the thing I want to take away from this series, no matter what happens, no matter how it ends, is this is the most well-prepared we've seen Meta Athena this season. You were talking about coordination. The coordination has been good, but it feels like they have a style prepared for every map. They knew what they wanted to run on Kings Row. They wanted to run this Zarya. They were defeated there. But on the first map on Ilios, they had the Pharah comp. They knew how to deal with Eska. And on the third map, they had the turtle style prepared for the right side with their defense, which gave Lunatic-Hai a lot of trouble. So I know that right now this coach has a plan for map number 4, and I think we're going to see yet again brilliant execution of said plan.
Yeah, I feel like it should be Dorado, right? If you're thinking about where they're going to be going, you think Libero wants to play Pharah. Is there any argument for anything else? I mean, you're not going to go to Gibraltar versus Lunatic-Hai unless you've got a complete death wish, and Route 66 just isn't as Pharah friendly. I feel like Dorado has to be the choice. It's been pretty much the most popular map choice for almost anyone moving to Escort in the Game 4s that we have actually seen.
Yeah, I mean, it's been Hoon's favorite map since Season 2, and 2 seasons later, you have to imagine that if it's not going to be for Zarya here that they're going to run it. I think it is going to be for the Pharah that they've found so much success with. And it's a much better Pharah map than Kings Row, for example, where they struggled. Because they had to run Hoon on the Zarya. They've already admitted, they've already given up in the Zarya versus Zarya that Zumba is the better player tonight. So I don't think we will see Zarya if we go to Dorado. We're like talking about Dorado as if it's already decided, but it feels like the obvious pick. It feels like we're going to see Libero try to carry the Pharah. The plan is going to be go back to killing Eska with Saya player in the back line and then just wiping everybody out from the skies to get a solid defense on Dorado. On attack, it'll be a different story. But they want to limit the push if they're taking us to Dorado with that style.
The thing that is scary, that I'm glad that you mentioned, you know, Hoon, Zarya and things like that, and Zumba winning out in that fight, because Dorado, especially just before the first point, you can utilize that Phalanx composition very, very well, and Zarya has a field day in that sort of market square. So.
Especially once you scout your enemy is Zarya, you know that you want to run Zarya too in this situation if you're Zumba. So
yeah.
They'll just find that out right away with Tracer coming out, or maybe even a Sonic Arrow.
And if you can hop back on the Doomfist, and even if Libero switches over to the Doomfist to try and break apart that kind of composition, we've seen Huayu be so good at denying opposing Doomfist, especially in this series thus far. So it was sort of desperation out from Libero, and he just got punched and destroyed and had to switch, had to try something else, and Meta Athena couldn't really figure it. I believe that was on Kings Row that we saw that the most.
Well, if it's not going to be Dorado, I am sure they've got a plan. And that could almost make the argument for why they would take us to Gibraltar, is if they have some sort of crazy plan. It is a Widowmaker map, as you say, so something to consider. All right, Meta Athena coach has impressed me tonight. He's shown me different styles for each map, well-prepared strategies. The execution of said strategies has been good.
And we've got smiles still on these Meta Athena players. Like, they know they had nothing to lose moving in here. This is all about ruining the days of Lunatic-Hai. They are currently 2-1 in this series in favor of the team that you can see on your screen right now, Lunatic-Hai, the Season 3 and 2 champions.
And if it's predictable or no, I will trust the map pick of this coach right now as we head into it. Where are we going for Escort?
Oh, it's got to be Dorado, right?
It's got to be. There it is. No surprises here.
We'd probably get fired. If we got that one wrong, we probably should have just been fired, because that one makes the most sense for so many different reasons, but also is very, very exciting from a Lunatic-Hai perspective as well. And we'll see what they're going to throw towards us as well, as far as how they're going to mix things up, because they haven't been able to deal with the Pharah necessarily, but they have had some fantastic compositions, especially around the Zaryas, things with, like, Zumba so incredibly good at just microwaving his targets.
I would love to see Guido on the Ana. If they're up against the Pharah, put Guido on the Ana, have him bodyguard Eska, stick to the point. Don't use Discord Orbs to try to kill the Pharah. Use the healing. Trust your DPS. Trust in Eska. I know we've seen a lot of Eska lulls over the seasons, but tonight he's playing well if he has protection against the dive that's come to defeat him. And that's how they've lost against the Pharah, is Eska being unable to get sightline. So that's going to be very important, is protecting Eska, making sure he can get those shots off.
Yeah, I also want some Sire play in McCree as well. Haven't seen enough of that one. So many things that could come out here on Dorado. Potentially the last time we see Meta Athena this season. Let's get into it.
I get it.
Feels like a match point for Lunatic-Hai in the crowd right now. This place is packed, by the way, everyone.
Yeah.
So many making their way down to the Soli Stadium.
It's crazy. Like, I maybe for Heroes of the Storm finals, I saw this many people here. And obviously, I don't cast League with you guys, but I mean, this is about as packed as I've ever seen it. And no one's going home early, because it feels like Meta Athena could certainly come back and do this. And this is do or die for Lunatic-Hai, the two-time champions of Apex, the team that's been decided for Overwatch League for Seoul. They're the Seoul team, and they could be knocked out if Meta Athena upsets here. Sure, like you said, it feels like we're heading towards match point, but at the same time, Meta Athena has shown such good coordination, such good execution tonight, that it feels like for the first time you're scared of this team in the group. It's going to be the Pharah opening, and not Eska on the Soldier, but on the Tracer. They're going to have Who Are You on the Doomfist, so this will be somewhat of a struggle against the Pharah, to be honest.
And the sort of standard Doomfist composition that we've seen a lot of other teams here in Apex, not necessarily Lunatic-Hai, utilizing a lot as well. So we'll see how it is going to go. Who Are You already building up that ult charge quite nicely with some uppercuts, but Eska getting pressured out.
Yep. When he was in the hallway there, he was fine, but the second he exposed himself, he's getting shot down by the Pharah.
Yano just boosting him up as well. Lots of damage potential now available from Libero as they just set up under this archway, and it has been a bit of a killing fields for Pharahs, but Zumba's got the message, because I feel like Zumba has been the one that hasn't been reacting to this Pharah, and Guido was taken down just then, so still needs to work on it, but the way we've seen Pharahs dealt with is often just divas zooming their mechs into their face. You know?
And he's been protecting everyone. They just decided to ball up on the point, and even though they can't kill the Pharah, it doesn't matter if the Pharah can't do enough consistent damage to kill them, and finally we saw that pick. It was mostly a kill-less Libero. He's built up a lot of his barrage percent with the damage he's done, but he hasn't gotten picks, so Lunatic-Hai is pretty happy with this, and as you say, it's a really good call. Zumba is just basically ignoring the Pharah, or protecting, while the rest of the team ignores the Pharah and pushes the payload.
Yeah, and what they were doing was ignoring the Pharah, but you didn't have Zumba doing that earlier on, especially on Ilios, as Eska going to throw his pulse bomb out, doesn't find the kill. Smiro going to have to use that Primal Rage. Yeah, it does so, but it's going to be paired with the Transcendence as well. Maybe didn't need to utilize both of those ultimates. Bit of panic potentially because Winston was about to fall down. Doesn't seem to matter though, as they're just investing everything and getting these kills. They want to get the hell out of this market, get themselves towards that first point. And Libero, it's another ignore the Libero situation, and Zumba, as we can see, able to put up the defense matrix in his face, stop him from being able to rain down any hell.
Good call. You know, Zumba's really made the switch here to being the protector, not the aggressor. They're not diving anymore. They're just stacking up on the payload. And this is one great way to deal with the Pharah. Res is available. The barrage is available. Where you needs to be careful not to play with fire too much with this one, as he's normally getting those kills with the Dragon Blade, not so much with shurikens in the sky.
Yep.
Eska does look for the back off pick here onto Chris. Good protection actually coming out from Hoon though to keep him alive.
Yeah, everyone just trying to take down Libero if they can. Got a self-destruct flying through from Hoon, as Huayu's going to take down Rio. So a lot of this front line now dealt with, and Huayu with a bit of a dash through is going to pick up a whole lot, but that's a fantastic three-man res coming out from Hyonu, who's down very, very low, but it looks like he may survive. No, Huayu able to take down the pharmacy from the sky, as he does.
So
Man,
well done.
We saw this against Runaway Season 2 final. He does it yet again. You know that it's not just a fluke with Huayu. He is so damn
Let's watch
good.
this again. Oh man, in the sky. Gets the flick on his way down. He turns around, slashes while moving backwards. So well played. And otherwise, Lunatic-Hai just built ultimates while ignoring the Pharah. I know you play Legend of Zelda, you know those target seeds? It's so frustrating to kill them, you just walk away. Lunatic-Hai just walked away, they marked it on their map for later. And that's when Huayu had the Dragon Blade, man. He came in, and that was a seed well earned, okay?
Yeah, I'm just really glad that Zumba is putting up his shield now, trying to reflect these things back, you know?
Yeah.
Because those guys are so annoying. You just need to press R.
Well,
absolutely fine. But Primal Rage is going to come down and deal with Sire Player, and that is going to be important for Lunatic-Hai trying to push through, because this defensive location is important for Meta Athena. We talk about it a lot.
It's so important because their Pharah cannot be used inside. It will be so difficult to utilize the Pharah inside. Their entire reason for picking this map is going to fade away if this point comes through.
Yeah, Chris was picked off with sound barrier up, and everyone is now going to die. Eska grabs himself a mech and a pilot at the same time.
So much more difficult to use the Pharah inside, especially at the beginning of this boundary phase, streets phase, whatever you want to call it. At the end, it's
power plant.
Yeah, at the end it's a lot easier because there's a big ceiling, obviously, and you can utilize the Pharah very well. But in this area here, obviously not a lot of space. Sorry, not this area. The area where the doorway is over here.
Yeah,
a little bit tougher to use the Pharah in here. Not impossible, mind you, but still, you're going to get less value. Going to be a lot easier to get picked off.
Well, you can see Libero making the switch, so he's going to head back to Doomfist now. There's a Pulse Bomb flying through, does soften up Miro a little bit, but Sound Barrier comes down to try and answer it. Huayu now just looking for a Dragon Blade opportunity, dashes over, finds Hyonu so easily and doesn't even need to invest that ult. That is so, so good. Libero finds Eska though, and we'll see whether it's going to be enough, because Huayu having a great time right
look
now.
At this angle.
Now we've got a Dragon Blade. Chris goes down. There is no potential res, no nothing, and he's just cutting people up. Libero does get one back, but it just feels like this is all about Huayu. Welcome back to Lunatic-Hai, man. He looks so, so good.
Hell, I mean, it's finding these perfect angles, to eliminating the supports. No ultimates for either support for a long time because he's been killing them so consistently. They haven't had time to build those. Lunatic-Hai, on the other hand, has a Transcendence that could be used to build another Dragon Blade. They have Primal Rage, so many tools. Transcendence is going to be used here right now just for the push protection.
Yeah, Libero is going to be taken down there as well. So Huayu getting another kill back. I mean,
he's carrying this so hard right now.
Yeah, exactly. And it's about Hoon to try and be the only frontline member right now, but he can't even really get in there just yet. And Huayu takes down Sire Player. He can just do whatever the hell he wants, man. And look at this. I think it's Miro just dancing at the spawn.
They're riding the payload first class, Atlas, to the finishing line here.
And they're just looking to park it. We'll see whether Meta Athena can stop them for at least a little while, as Libero is going to come in. Does find the punch onto Eska, and Sire Player getting some work done as well. We mentioned the DPS from Meta Athena are going to be the ones that are going to carry through, but can they do enough is the question. We're only 4 meters away from a fantastic completion time for Lunatic-Hai, and already they've made it a brilliant distance, even if they're stopped, to be honest. Dorado's not a map that we see completed all that often.
Very much the case. You're absolutely right. And we saw, just now a lot of really good chases from Meta Athena. They actually stopped Miro from escaping, so bought a lot of time with that as well. Lunatic-Hai used almost everything in terms of ultimates. Eska will make the swap here now to the Sombra to control these health packs.
One of his most impressive heroes as well.
It makes Libero's life hell because he won't have those health packs he needs when he's dashing around with his rocket punches. And I think that when he gets an EMP, that's when we'll see the Dragon Blade.
Just not sure how Huayu escapes from these
I don't
situations
either, man. I have no idea.
at all. That was a Tesla cannon right up his behind, and he just dashes himself to a health pack and he's going to be fine. Chris, though, is able to answer, and Hyonu eventually deals with Huayu, which is brilliant for Meta Athena, who are holding on. Skin of their teeth right now, but they are at least holding on.
Yeah, they got Who Are You, which means no EMP Dragon Blade, but Lunatic-Hai is about to have the big 6. And this is going to be their moment. Miro will build the Primal Rage and the extended fight that Eska will allow with this EMP. Hyonu doesn't even have a Transcend, so there's not much counterplay here. This is going to be fireworks on the side of Lunatic-Hai. Meta Athena better hope they're ready. He's looking for the angle here.
Oh, wow, gets himself in.
Sound Barrier preemptive, very nicely done.
Yeah, make sure that Eska doesn't have it, but they can just wait this one out if they want. Sound Barrier of their own is going to come in. There's Meta Athena, they're looking for the EMP. Throw it out in the backline, nicely done. And Who Are You? Now going to have so much space for this Dragon Blade. Cutting them down, but he does get removed, exactly. So Hoon, in there with some work to be done. Takes down the mech, does Zumba. But can Lunatic-Hai actually get back control of this payload? They are grabbing some kills, and they are now able to move this one forward yet again.
Rio has the Primal Rage. If he gets hacked, though, it could all be over. Hyonu does finally now have that Transcend, would like to have it earlier.
It is overtime now for Meta Athena, so they have at least stalled it out. We'll see whether the completion does come in, because that's going to be the important thing, to deny
absolutely.
Meta Athena any ability to try and just get further and get the win.
EMP did come out here. Libero picks up 2, though. Time's ticking down. He needs to get onto that payload.
Yeah, now it's just stall tactics from Lunatic-Hai. You know that on the attack it's too difficult, and they are going to stop them in their tracks. Meta Athena, that was stalwart defense, 2 minutes and a half after that payload was pretty much in, Keanu Reeves speed mode, heading straight towards the finish line.
If the payload would have any faster, man, it would have gone back to the future.
Yep.
With 88 miles per hour, man.
Oh, God.
That was,
Sandra Bullock was getting motion sickness, I think, in that payload.
That payload was the Mach 5 that Speed Racer was driving, man. So, look, the situation now is a very decent one for Meta Athena. Getting completion here is very much viable, very much possible. The thing that was most impressive for me for the defense is sure Libero is great on the Doomfist even without the health packs available, but at the same time, the thing that's really shown to me was Chris using the Sound Barrier early. And even though Lunatic-Hai counterplayed it by not using the EMP, what he was trying to do is give enough time for Hyonu to get that Transcend, which he eventually did. It was really cool to see, and Libero just showing his prowess. The DPS is, as you said, as was said by Saya player and Lunatic-Hai, Taejun in that interview, have been the stars tonight, and have been for, realistically, for this team all group long, even though they haven't won maps until today. Any highlight reel that you've seen from this team has been from their DPS, certainly.
Well, Eska's going to be moving over to the McCree. We've got Huayu's Doomfist now to try and answer. Well, I like this composition. What we saw from them last time on the attack was with the Tracer, with the Doomfist as well, not necessarily having that long-range answer. Now understanding that Meta Athena will most likely go towards that pharmacy composition.
Yes.
They've got the long range of both the Ana and the McCree, and I like this a lot.
Exactly what we wanted. This
this is what you've been preaching this whole time. Well,
I want to see this Ana come out early. The McCree has extra protection because he has his stun. He can use his stuns to protect himself when Saya player comes around. And if he's able to do that consistently, then it means that he can actually get shots off while he's alive to deal with the Bara that has really ruined him in this series, especially, of course, on Ilios. So this is very much a better setup. I'd like to see where Guido's positioned right now, in fact, because it's got to be right next to him. In fact, it is. You can see those heal shots flying already. They're just going to give up this risky zone, go back to where they've got a better line of sight for the Bara. They're not going to overextend out to the outside.
Well, that range is a difficult one for Eska, but he's looking for the kills. Probably wants to be focusing down Hyonu here, but the dive is going to come in. Meta Athena really trying to get themselves into an aggressive stance and give space for Libero to rain down hell.
Zimba and Guido again protecting Eska this time. Saya player had to just walk away, couldn't actually look for the pick he wanted.
But the front line's getting focused here. Meta Athena are doing a good job, but Saya player is going to be taking down Eska with a really nice headshot to remove him from the fight. I thought Miro was going to fall, but no, it's not going to be enough.
That's the Deadeye he was looking for on Ilios, man. And the problem for Lunatic-Hai on Ilios was they were diving and there was no protection for the McCree. This time, everybody is just sitting and waiting, and the difference is night and day. He builds that Deadeye in less than a minute and has the ability to use it this time because his tanks are right with him. They're not trying to go for an aggressive dive. This forces the switch. The composition will switch Hoon onto the Zarya. Libero will flex onto the D.Va, not his first D.Va. And it is going to be the triple tank now they try to use to approach this to bust the tanks of Lunatic-Hai down because they've turtled so much with this tank comp that Meta Athena is now trying to counter their composition. It's risky, and they lost ultimates to do it, but they have to make it work.
Well, they're going to start off with a 6v5, which certainly looks good for Meta Athena. The triple tank sort of looked good on King's Row, as now he's going to get nano boosted. And that is, what is the nano boosted Meteor Strike? Wolf, what are we going to call that? Like,
oh, that's a tough one, man. Fiery Meteor, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll have to think of a better one. That one's not a good one.
Goodbye Dinosaurs. I don't know whether that necessarily works.
I'm like the Yucatan Meteor Strike. Like, I'm not sure, but we'll think of something.
Yeah.
But the hold is real, man. Meta Athena is trying to make this comp work. They don't have the Graviton Surge yet. That's going to be the crux of this. Cyber gets a pick on a Guido. That's huge.
Yep, it's important.
Rio was slept actually in that last fight, which was a huge factor as to why the tank line all fell apart.
That player as well, actually getting some damage onto the mech is a big deal because you can see Zumba actually removed from that one, actually throws out the ultimate just to get a full health mech back. And Eska comes in now on the Tracer, able to pick up kills. The adaptation from both of these teams is so cool to watch because these compositions have been changing so much over this series.
Yeah, certainly so. Okay, Rio's got the nano now. And he's going to hold on to this Earth Shatter. Doesn't need it right now to get this completion. So they're hitting into a 3:36 time bank now.
And Uyu is playing aggressive. Does get the uppercut, and that is going to be Rio taken down. Guido's going to be the one that picks up
Critical, they hold on to all these ults. They only use a Nano Boost, which is really easy to build compared to the Graviton Surge, for example, which isn't quite ready yet. The Earth Shatter, which he is going to have available when they're looking to build for that Graviton Surge. And it would be amazing for them if they can hold on to these all the way towards point B, so they can actually get that tough capture. Lunatic-Hai is so good at delaying, so if they have these tools to just wipe the team one time, it's all they need. Oh my god.
Yeah. Into a pulse bomb. That is going to be Libero removed from the mech.
Not his main hero here, but does get punished for over-aggressive play there.
Just getting toyed with as well. That was very depressing.
Sound barrier is baited though.
It's going to be invested into this one as well, as Libero looking to try and get back into the mech, and he's going to be able to. Okay, that's why you don't toy with the Pilot D.Va too often. Play doesn't find the flashbang, and now we're back moving on this payload.
They use the Earth Shatter, but they still have the Graviton Surge to try to get this completion. This is a huge moment because they have Deadeye as well.
Yeah, and is Hoon going to be able to have that Hoon performance that we want him to as well?
There
he throws it out on the roof. Nicely done.
But nobody
Picks
dies.
Up 3, but yeah, doesn't actually get it. That grenade from Guido was so good, and now Huyu is able to punish.
And Saya player gets nothing with the Deadeye. The defense matrix was so good. He's down now. And that was their moment to get this completion. They fail, and that's going to be a wipe.
Who are you? He is so good.
So well played on both sides. I mean, this is some high-level Overwatch we are watching here.
It just looks like I know Doomfist does get tidied up a little bit after this patch, Wolf. He's maybe slightly overtuned, but in the hands of Huyu, it looks like all of his buttons are an ultimate. Like, oh, look at him comboing all of these ultimates together when really it's just, you know, him pressing his regular ones.
It's pretty good. All right, protection here coming out from
Guido in trouble.
Who switched back to the D.Va. They've switched Libero back onto the Pharah to try to break through here against the Doomfist. So again, counter upon counter with these swaps.
Yeah, trying to catch Lunatic-Hai in a composition that isn't going to work here against the Pharah, but they are focusing Libero down.
Huayu's dead. Will he make a switch? He's not normally the hit scan player. Looks like they're probably going to wait until Eska gets picked if they do switch. Toby's down here. It's a great opportunity.
And look at Zumba, he's not doing anything now to deal with Libero. Libero's actually able to get shots on him if he wants to.
The entire tanky setup that caused the Pharah to fail is now in disarray, and so it looks like Meta Athena is going to be able to push this one through. no one's grouped up. Huryu did make the switch to the Genji at least, but it's not going to be the hit scan they need to deal with this pharmacy
At
comp.
least they get onto the payload here, but Hyunu wants to find the res if he can. Eska's going to be first to fall down though, and Meta Athena not necessarily in any position that they're forced to make any choices whatsoever. But Lunatic-Hai, still a lot of bodies on this payload. Chris going to be the only res, but Hyunu, he knows that they do need to try and get these single-man reses before he's going to fall down, because he has been the focus, and it was enough to get Meta Athena some kills in this fight.
Zumba was dealing with the attack visor, so he wasn't able to deal with anything else. That's the melee Pharah kill right there to get the kill onto Eska. And I think if they stick with this pharmacy, I think Eska will have to make the swap to Soldier. He does immediately, because even though he had a pulse bomb, it's not worth holding on to that one. When if you mess this up, you're going to game 5. That's not what you want. You want the full defense here. You want to stop that completion. And Libero, free damage so far, but now that Eska's respawned, it's going to be a different story. And because Saya's on the Soldier, he can't do the backline dive to kill him. It's going to be a Soldier versus Soldier battle to control the air, realistically here for Saya players, so a lot more tough. He might even make the switch himself.
Denying high ground here from the supports though on Lunatic-Hai is nice out of this Soldier. Can't necessarily get pot shots on the DPS, but
no
that's
res
sort
here.
of what he needs.
Dragonblade.
Eska's going to take down Hyunu, and Libero is going to fall in the sky once again. Rio dies as well, but Hoon finally answers what Huryu was throwing out, but that's half of them wiped out. Meta Athena going to have to try again on this push.
They don't have a lot of time, so Saya players not going to make that switch to Tracer to try to kill Eska so that the Pharah can do the damage. They're sticking with this. They've got 45 seconds left to make a name for themselves at the end of this group. And of course, all the members of MVP Space are having their breaths held right now, because in 35 seconds they might find themselves knocked out of the round of 16.
But Lunatic-Hai are in such a comfortable position. 30 seconds now, as we haven't even had the payload round the corner just yet. And Libero trying to stick with this Pharah is so dangerous inside the power plant, because there are these little corridors, there are these opportunities for you just to get wiped out. And Lunatic-Hai, they've got the sound barrier. They're looking to try and answer.
Okay, barrier's down. This could be a barrage opportunity if they can get Zumba in bad position. Transcendence now buying time here. Both support ultimates are going to be down after this though. Here's the barrage. Eska's down, and that means Pharah's uncontested, taken out by Toby of all people. They have the res.
Those extra damage coming out of this Lucio is going to be enough to take him down, but Libero once again going to see the light of day and immediately gets the revenge. You got the dash through though. Huryu, if he's still alive, is able to get work done, but he does fall. Hoon has just been so good at dealing with him towards the end of this, and Eska coming back with attack visor.
Hoon has to use this to remech. Does he live? He does. He will be able to get the remech. So important here.
And Libero's going to be taken down. It's Giddo with the switch over
Time
to the
is
Tracer,
over.
and that's going to be that. Lunatic-Hai. A 3-1, but they do get themselves through, and #1 in Group A as well. The Group of Death, where we thought that Lunatic-Hai were going to be the team that could potentially see elimination after MVP Space looked so good at the beginning. Now, we're not even going to see MVP Space in the round of 8.
We will not. And what a tense match this was. Nobody could have predicted Meta Athena's performance tonight. Their understanding of their strengths, their understanding of Lunatic-Hai's weaknesses was so well played. And Guido was able to prove himself tonight on a new role, playing the Ana, playing the Zenyatta. But for Lunatic-Hai, I think this might have been one of their best moments to show the full depth of their roster, because Guido played the support now. They've shown so many different styles. They didn't have to. They didn't feel pressured to use a substitution. So the depth of their roster feels even stronger than before, which is hard to believe. And now, Meta Athena, I feel like when we came into this series, you and I were both prepared to sing the death woes. I was prepared to tell you guys we would never.
I wrote a eulogy, man.
I was prepared to tell you guys we would never see them run this roster again. I was prepared to tell you it was time to make some swaps. It was time to rebuild, as they say in Korea, for next season, for the promotions. But you know what? They showed us something different tonight. They showed us their best series of the tournament. And they lived up to the name that they've built over Season 2, where they made top 4. Season 3, they looked a little bit weaker, but they lived up to the name that they built for themselves when they made semis. And the Group of Death was called Group of Death not for MVP Space, but because Meta Athena was in it, and tonight was the only night where they were able to make that true. Those are very big props to them.
Yeah, it looked damn good. And look, last time we saw these two teams face off, it was that 3-2 victory in favor of Lunatic-Hai. And You can see them in the booths now. Smiles on the faces of everyone.
I think everybody wins tonight, right?
Yeah.
Except MVP Space, of course, but everyone in these booths, like...
Yeah,
Meta
everyone
Athena-
in these booths.
Everyone at Meta Athena will be very happy with their performance tonight. Very, very happy.
And that could actually guarantee some people their opportunities for the next season as well, because they were looking like there weren't any good news stories for Meta Athena. They were all over the shop in their other two matchups, Runaway and MVP Space, just making them look like clowns, honestly. And today, here you're up against a Lunatic-Hai that actually looked great. Who Are You had a phenomenal performance. His Doomfist looked great. His Genji, as usual, looked phenomenal. But Meta Athena were able to answer, and they had some cool compositions. They had cool coordination. I want to see them continue practicing.
Because of Who Are You's age and his ineligibility to play in Overwatch League, I feel like this is the kind of play we'll be seeing for him for years. And you have to expect if Lunatic-Hai's second team makes it into Apex Season 5, that will probably be his home. And we're only just going into the round of 8, but Who Are You is back. Jaehong can take a seat on the bench sometimes. Taejun's there for moral support, it seems like. A lot of the time, one of the smartest players on the team. Lunatic-Hai is just getting warmed up, and they're going to find their way out of this group in first place after tonight's result. So they will move on, take that first place spot. They're going to get to choose what group they like. And Lunatic-Hai getting out of the group of death in first place, and what a group of death it became here at the end, I think really, again, solidifies them as the favorites for this season going into the round of 8.
Yeah, so beautiful to see that Meta Athena didn't have that -9 scoreline as well. That is going to solely belong to LW Blue, who didn't actually play any games, so theoretically doesn't actually exist. And Flashlux avoiding the 0-9 run as well. So theoretically, all of the teams that played were able to at least pick up a map, which is certainly heartening. Flashlux not often able to when they head into Apex, despite always making it back somehow.
Yeah.
Flashlux, the defenders of promotions.
Yeah, they're the gatekeepers.
They are.
Honestly, I feel like there's a pretty high chance we'll be seeing them in Season 5. They're the unkillable team here. Make an appearance every season. Guys, don't forget that the round of 8 will be starting on Friday, but before we get there, we're going to have the group selection live, so don't turn your Twitch stream off. Stick around, because you're going to be live being some of the first people to find out what those groups of death will become and who gets to pick them, etc. It's a very fun show. It'll be translated for you guys as well, so you get to hear everything the players say, why they said it. It's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, so the teams are going to be LW Red, Lunatic-Hai, Kondu Panthera, and of course X6 Gaming. They're going to have that first seed in their groups as well. So the rest of them, sort of, it's all left up in fate's hands as well at that stage. But I'm excited to see who's going to pick what. I'm certainly going to be sticking around. You're not going to be hearing from us necessarily afterwards, but man, after the break, we'll see where Apex Season 4 is going to be going and who is going to be choosing what. Thank you so much, guys. Round of 16, now over, Wolf.
It's been a great start, man. What great groups we had. I mean, what a great season this is starting to be, man. Even with Luxury Watch Blue out, it's been awesome.
Yeah, and I was a little bit worried because, we lost LW Blue, but who cares? We'll see you guys after the break for some cool group draw action.